Hello and welcome to On the Esky. The boys are all back here after a big week in finals. So Monkey and Peppy are back on the mics with myself, Sean.
Yo.
Howdy.
How you boys doing after a big week of finals footy?
Good. We're a few days behind, but
yeah,
we'll have to
make up for it.
rejog our memory.
Yeah.
We've got 9 days of sport to talk about rather than the usual week, and it's been a massive 9 days, so keen to hooking into it.
Definitely. So we've got a big show planned. We will go through the AFL and NRL grand finals. Then we've got the week in the NFL and the week that's currently started. The results of the F1, what happened in the World Series, and of course a little bit of rugby news, and then the UFC from the weekend because they had a massive card on Sunday for us, Saturday for everyone else. But I think we'll start off with the AFL. In the end, Richmond get up and beat the Geelong Cats.
All there from Tigerland. Tigerland.
So that's 3 from 4 for them?
Yeah, 3 out of 4. I think all of us didn't really want to see them go again. Brisbane and Port, we thought might have had a chance. They both got knocked out last week. And Geelong really looked like they were matching it for the first half and a
great
bit.
Start, yeah.
Yeah, and there's just a man called Dustin Martin that probably was the difference between the two sides.
Definitely. So Geelong get out to, I think they were 22 points in front in the second and then 15 by half time. So a comfortable lead, not a huge lead. But in the end, what's the final score? They got beat by
31,
31?
Richmond 12 goals 9, 81, defeated Geelong 7 goals 8, 50, 31-point margin in the end.
Yeah, Dusty had a huge third quarter.
Yeah, and the Cats only managed 2 goals 3 in the second half.
Yeah, very, well, if you're a Geelong fan, very disappointing after leading at half time.
Yeah.
But Richmond win. Dusty was unreal and won the Norm Smith medal for his third time.
Third time, yep. 3 grand finals, 3 Norm Smiths for Dusty. His stat line read 21 disposals with 16 kicks, 5 handballs, 3 tackles, and probably most importantly, 4 goals straight.
Yeah.
He's unreal in finals, isn't he?
Oh, he's, and I think we posed the question just before, is he considered the GOAT?
Of grand finals?
Of grand finals, you can probably say yes.
Well, he's definitely in the conversation. There's probably guys that we'd have to look through the history books that might have played 6 or 7. But the Norm Smith has been contended since 1979. He's now the first person to win 3 of them.
Yep.
And previous to that, only 3 guys had won 2.
Yep.
Andrew McLeod with that Adelaide
he
Crows.
being one of them, of course.
Yep. 4, including,
Yep.
McLeod, Gary Ayres with Geelong back in the 80s, and Luke Hodge most recently with Hawthorn.
Yep.
So pretty exclusive club to have won 2, and Dusty's standing there all on his lonesome with 3.
So what do you think Dusty kind of then fits in that upper echelon of players in that time frame, or in that 100 years plus of AFL?
Well, he's only halfway through. Yeah.
You got to think of that too as well.
Yeah.
Like he's halfway into his career.
There's a chance that he wins 5 or 6 of these.
Yeah, well, definitely. You look at that team; they're still in that window as we keep talking about. They've still got possibilities of going on and winning. They could win the next 2 out of the next 3, as an example.
For sure.
Create a bit of a dynasty there at Richmond.
Yeah. Well, they're already sort of. I suppose the word dynasty can get thrown around as soon as you won 3. This could end up being a really, really nice run for Tigers fans.
As long as they can keep that core unit together, they'll definitely be competitive going forward.
There's no rumours of anyone leaving at this stage. You never know with an AFL off-season these days.
Oh, and the other clubs, of course, will want to pinch players from the winners. That's usually what happens. But again, it's on Richmond to keep it together, and they do. Well, they could be anything.
Jaden Short won their best and fairest this year, young bloke. It's probably one of the more competitive best and fairest in the AFL. They're not, a team sort of say like the Dockers that really rely on Fife, or Carlton that really rely on Cripps. They've got, a really good spread of players. So congrats to young Jaden. He's only 24 years old. And their back line is just unreal with the likes of Hooley and Edwards and Lambert.
Their back line probably doesn't get talked enough about with how good their front pack is. And a note I had here on the list was Dusty's goal before halftime was very critical and kind of turning that momentum around.
Yeah.
It was.
Because, of course, they were down 20, what's quick math, 21
Yes.
at that point, and that's the goal brings them back to 15. So that really probably helped in the halftime, built some momentum so they could get into this, they could win this game. I don't want to say Dusty carried them, but he definitely led the way forward.
No one carries anyone, I suppose, to a grand final win, but he was by far and above the best player on the field.
Yeah, definitely.
Again, going back to kicking 4 goals, like
Yeah.
it's no.
I think that was his first,
It's nothing.
and then he had 3 in the second half.
Yep.
Yeah, that sounds about right. So, what are your thoughts on Gary Ablett playing out the whole game after? I think they said he ended up being a dislocation. Actually, was a fracture or he broke something in his shoulder. So it sounds like he's probably going to need some surgery in that. What do you think about him playing the full game?
He's tough. I suppose it's up to the discretion of the trainers and the team doctors and the physios and that.
Well, it's clear. It was clear he wasn't right. But
in a grand final, he's never going to say, "I'm no good, take me off."
Yep.
No.
So I can't knock a bloke. It's his last game. He would have wanted to leave everything on the field. He did look a bit wounded towards the end there.
Yeah.
I'm not going to be critical of him trying to run out the game. That's sort of what you kind of, you get bred to do is if you're not incapacitated, you're out there and you're giving your best.
Yeah, that's very much my thoughts. It's his last game he's ever going to play. He's got a busted wing, okay, but let him go out on his shield. Let him do what he needs to do. You don't take him off and after the first quarter and then sit him on the bench.
No.
Because what message does that send to the rest of your team? You probably want him out there. Maybe he can do something. One of the goals they scored in the second half, it was very much he took a very clean catch. It's not catch.
Mark?
But, no, it wasn't a mark either. Just the way he flowed the ball, like he got the ball and in the way he floated on very quickly in the front line, which then led to a goal for Geelong, which then gave them some hope that hey, maybe we can start pare this back. It didn't last very long. I think Richmond scored within the next 30 seconds. But that's what he's there for. It was like as in to provide that service through the middle there, so I can get to the front to the forward line, so they can get quick goals. Be a part of that, show that leadership, show that drive. And then hopefully that then generates it for the rest of the boys that, hey, if Gary's out here with one arm and he's still running around, he's still helping us score goals, why aren't the rest of us playing to that level? Why can't we push ourselves? Why can't we get, possibly win this game and somehow pull it back?
Yep.
Definitely.
I agree 100%.
Yeah, I think that's a better message than having them sitting on the bench and you're like, shit, well, Gary's on the bench, how are we going to win this game?
Yeah. Even if he doesn't get the ball, just him being on the field with his leadership.
Yeah, barking orders.
Huge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sort of noticed that when he first came off, they were a little bit directionless for a minute, and then, but yeah.
Oh, and the other thing, he creates a distraction. Like Richmond still got to account for him. They probably
he's
know
very
that
dangerous.
They probably know that he's a little bit wounded, but he was like, hey, he's still out here, so obviously he can still go. Maybe he's 80%, maybe he's 90%, but he's still out here. We got to account for him, and we still got to worry about him. We still got to mark him, etc. So you can't just let him float around out there.
Anyways, congrats on a stellar career.
Yeah. Definitely. I think he officially announced that it's all done and dusted today. So will go into retirement as one of the best players to ever play AFL, following on from his old man.
Yeah, for sure. Hard to say how guys like Dangerfield and Martin are going to play in the next sort of 10 years, but probably the best player of the last 15 years, Gary Ablett.
Well, if you think of this decade, so 2010 to 2020, he's probably up there in the top 3.
Yeah, that's a fair statement.
So, little other news in the AFL. There's been a lot of, it's now the off season, so of course there's starting movements to happen. So Zach Williams is going to the Blues. Yep. Thoughts, Peppy?
Yeah, from GWS, a really nice player. He's very fast and very silky with the football. Puts a lot of moves on defenders. Very hard to tackle. Pretty stacked midfield there at GWS with the likes of Caniglio and Lockie Whitfield, Kelly and others. So it would be interesting to see where he plays. They do use him off half back a little bit at GWS. They send him up forward sometimes, and he obviously is very good in the midfield or on the wing. You could see him slotting straight into Carlton's midfield as being that third man there to Cripps and Walsh, or possibly play off the wing. But it's a big signing for the Blues. He's a quality player and will really help them in the engine room.
Well, another player that's though wanted out of GWS. I wonder what GWS is going to look like next year.
Yeah.
There's a lot of guys that seem to be wanting to move on.
Yeah, well, moving on, Jeremy Cameron looks like he wants out.
Yeah, looks like, and Geelong, I think, is the talk about where he could possibly end up.
He's up fishing the Northern Territory at the moment, following on Instagram. He's a keen fisher, Jeremy Cameron. He's catching some monsters. Looks like he's just trying to stay away from all the media hype at the moment, focus on what he loves. But yeah, I think GWS matched Geelong's offer today, so Geelong's going to have to fork out a bit more money if they want to grab him.
Yep.
But geez, that'd be a nightmare for other teams with having to account for Hawkins and Jeremy Cameron.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
just roll them straight in there.
That would be a nightmare for coaches and backmen trying to pick up those two.
Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see what happens. He's been a multiple Coleman medalist, arguably the best big forward in the game of probably the last 4 or 5 years. So be a massive loss for GWS and big claim for whoever can get him.
Yep. So another Blues news, they might be adding Adam Saad from the Bombers.
Yep. Good little backman, Adam Saad. I think it's rumours at the moment, but it's looking like it might be a little bit more than rumours. So we'll follow up on that one next week. He'd be a nice handy ad.
So Brisbane has signed Joe Danaher. Is that how you say it?
Mm-hmm.
Yep. 3-year deal, and I think the Bombers get Brisbane's first rounder in return, which I think is number 7. But as goal scorer, a forward.
Massive signing for Brisbane. It's probably the one area of their game where they have lacked. He'll be able to...
That's what we talked about last week about do Brisbane need... where if they need someone to support
another key forward,
who would that be? Whether it's in midfield or key forward, looks like they've got a forward. Though Danaher's coming off 2 years of injuries and groin injuries, but
hadn't played a bulk of games this year, Joe Danaher. But
I think I had a look, and I think he played 7 this year and like 6 the year before. But 2017, he played all the games and he kicked 65. So
He's awesome when he's going, and one of the best overhead marks as well as a key forward. Really flies at the football nicely. This is massive for Brisbane. We've spoken about it before. He'll join Hipwood now as the other key forward.
Yeah, it may mean McStay gets less of game time and they might move on from him, but it's more of it could be a senior player in that forward pack that then could help teach like guys like Hipwood, this is how you kick a ball and this is how you kick goals.
Possibly. I don't think
this is set shots. This is how we do it.
He's quite young, Joe Danaher.
I think he's played 7 years in the top grade.
Is it really that many?
Yeah, 2012 he came into the league, I believe, from what I had to look up.
Let's have a little look here. Joe Danaher, 1994. So he's 26. He's a little bit older than I thought. I suppose when someone hasn't been around the game for a bit, you kind of do forget that they still keep getting older when they're not playing footy.
Yep.
So massive signing for Brisbane, and maybe he's the bloke they need to get to that elusive grand final next year.
Yeah, could be what puts them over the top. And the final bit of news we've got in the AFL is we kind of mentioned it a couple of weeks ago about Ben Brown getting out of Norths. Might be looking at Melbourne. So go to the Demons.
Yeah, it'd be big for Melbourne. Their forward line is not bad at all as it is. And having a big key forward up there like Ben Brown would really help them. Feel for North Melbourne, the Kangas. I don't know what's going on there. Why
they're not getting better.
No, and tough to be a supporter, I think, for the last few years.
Okay, so we'll wrap up the AFL there and we'll move into the NRL. Again, another big game. In this one, Storm end up coming away with the win. So the Melbourne Storm, that is, beat Penrith Panthers. I think the final score was 26-20.
26-20, correct. One of the more entertaining second halves in a grand final in recent memory.
Well, considering it was 22-0 at halftime.
Correct.
So Storm very clinical and on point in the first half, get out to that big lead. And then Penrith win the second half 26. Hold on.
20 to 4.
Yeah.
Yes, 20 to 4.
20 to 4. So they outscored
Quick
them.
mass our strong suit, obviously, here on the Esky.
So they come back into the game. A little bit of chat, maybe. Did the refs help them a little bit to get into it?
Yeah.
A lot of ticky-tack penalties towards the end and 2 sin bins for Melbourne. So they finished the game with 11 men.
In that first half, I don't know if the referees were making the wrong call. I think they missed one bad one where that got ruled a Penrith knock on, but it actually had come off the Melbourne Storm player. Yep. It just seemed like every 50-50 call was going the Storm's way.
They got very lucky.
Yeah,
the luck was definitely on their side.
A few disallowed tries for the Panthers, and everything just seemed to be going Melbourne's way. Mm-hmm. Mind you, at halftime, we kind of thought this game was over, and then bang, produced one of the more exciting finishes that I can remember in recent times. I
do give big props to Penrith because I kind of said it leading up to it. I thought if Melbourne got out to a big lead and they could put 40 on them and they run away with it. And I was at half time, I was like, well, shit, I can see them.
Blow out here.
Yeah. It's on the cards.
They're all going to drop their heads. They're all young. They've only got one guy that's played a grand final before. Not a whole lot of representative experience. Yeah, this is going to be 44-0.
Yeah. But big props to them. They got back in the game. Cleary definitely played better in the second half than he did in the first.
Wonder what his old man said to him at half time.
Oh, definitely. He obviously gave him a big G up and got him stuck into it. And but in the end, they don't win. They won 17 in a row, but lose the big one.
Yeah.
Will be remembered for quite a while.
Yeah, and I think everyone in Australia that's doesn't live in Melbourne or some pockets of Queensland was probably going for the Penrith Panthers there.
Yep.
Sick
of another Melbourne win.
I'm not the biggest fan of the Melbourne Storm, I'll admit that, but you got to respect how clinical they are and how good they've been. That's what they've made 4 out of the last 5 grand finals, and they've won 2.
Yep. And I think for Cameron, it was his 8th grand final appearance.
Yep. Yeah, which is...
I think the Bromwich brothers were up to 5.
Yeah.
So
that's pretty crazy, yes, for some of those younger guys at Melbourne, like the Bromwich boys. I think Cam Munster's up to 4.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, these guys are only in their, mid to late 20s.
Still got a lot of footy left.
Oh, craziness. Absolute craziness. Big Ryan Pappenhausen, he had a massive game. Second half.
Had a huge moment jumping basically, 2 or 3 metres outside of the field of play to hit back a kick for touch from a penalty.
Wasn't that good to watch.
To brings it back in, and then Melbourne, of course, recover and takes away very much a Penrith scoring opportunity late, which could have, again, changed the game.
Mm-hmm.
But he had such a cracking game and ended up with the Clive Churchill medal.
Did you see Sportsbet paid out for Cameron Smith at halftime to win the Clive Churchill? I think they lost $5 million on that. So cheers to Ryan Pappenhausen for taking a bit of their money. They've taken a lot of mine over the years. So
Cameron was definitely up there, but Pappenhausen in that second half.
Yeah. Rightfully so.
Did he score that
big intercept try?
No, he scored the try from the scrum.
Sorry, it wasn't. Yeah.
Was that second half or was it in the first?
Second half.
It was second half, yeah.
I'm pretty sure. I think that was there. Yeah, that was the start, 45th minute it was the start, and that's what made it 26-0. We were talking about halftime, we're all thinking it's over.
Yeah.
When it's 26-0 after 45, you're going, Jesus, let's go home just about.
And he runs, 70, I think, from the scrum.
How quick is
untouched,
he? Oh, man.
I think his second receiver, just a little shimmy. And,
and he was away.
And just hit the jets and gone, and no one could stay with him.
Yeah.
None of the fast blokes from Melbourne could keep up. None of the guys, fast blokes from Penrith could keep up to him. But the Melbourne Storm and their backline and the speed they've got back there, it's
pretty scary,
isn't it? Adokar, of course, I think is moving on. He's going one of the Sydney clubs. He wants to go back to Sydney, and he's done with Melbourne.
Has he signed a contract yet? Is he going to West? Is he going to South?
Again, I don't think anything's been kind of agreed to. I think West's were his choice.
Obviously, that's where he came from.
Yeah, I think the Doggies are keen.
Yeah.
With Trent Barrett back there now. Did you see the former All Blacks coach is also helping out Trent Barrett next year?
Really? Which one?
Right.
The last one, the one that took him to the World Cup. I've forgotten his name.
It's not coming to my mind either.
He's won a World Cup with the All Blacks, but he's coming to help doing some coaching work, trying to change the culture. Not necessarily.
His career's taken a dive, hasn't it?
Yeah, not some. I think he's very much using his retirement years, and he's just like, well, this pays the bills, and it's good.
Yeah. It's more charity work than anything.
The Doggies are a bit of a charity case, but yes.
Thanks, Raylene Castle.
So it looks like Canterbury's still pushing for him, but
those are the three, though.
They've signed Nick Kotrick, so if they had Kotrick and Adokar as their wingers, it's pretty much the Blues wingers. So.
Well, Kotrick's definitely signed with the Doggies to play centre because that's where he wants to play centre.
Okay.
Whether Trent ends up playing him there, that's one way to piss off your new signing, but you see.
I didn't know that he did want to play centre. I'd seen a little bit on Instagram, people tagging him, a few the old jokes, wingers are the guys that play with footballers, et cetera, And I did see Nick getting tagged in a few things. Oh, is this why you want to play in the centres? But I didn't know he'd actually express that opinion.
Yeah, so that's very much why he moved on from the Raiders, so he could play.
He could play in the centres. He's good, tough defender. He's he's nuggety. Yeah.
Definitely. He's got good size for it. He could play there. It's, just work on his ball skills so he can help out his winger. But hey, if you got him on out or Cow on one side, that's still a good pairing.
Very dangerous.
Definitely. Very dangerous.
Yeah.
So, not sure where Adokar goes to finish that off. Those three teams we mentioned are probably where he will end up, but somewhere in Sydney is where he's looking.
Please not South.
Hard to say with South because they've got a pretty good backline.
Their backline is loaded.
Yeah.
I'd be very scared of a backline that had Johnston, Cody Walker, him running around there.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, to finish off our grand final chat, did you see Craig Bellamy kicking over the chair, blowing
goodness.
up? Oh, man.
What were they up at this stage as well? Because
I think this
wasn't like when you thought, they could actually lose this game. This was kind of like, Craig.
I think it was probably 10 to go, and they were working back into it. So it was like 26-12.
Yeah. You could feel a bit of the momentum shift, and it
was after another sin bin, I think, and then he was just like, what's he could feel it. He was like, shit, what's happening?
Yeah, for sure.
We've been so far in front, we can't lose it from here. He's like, oh no.
Well, that's Craig Bellamy for you. He's never short of a few expletives.
Yeah, I think he's come out from there, and like in his media talk, he's very much said that his future in head coaching. He's like, I don't want to be a head coach anymore. Like, I want my contract's up at the end of next year. I'm not going to take another one because my heart can't take it. I'm a very emotional person.
Wears his heart on his sleeve.
Yeah, exactly. Wears his heart on his sleeve. He rides the boys the whole way home. So it's tough for him. Whether he goes and does that coaching director gig with Brisbane, but I can still see him sitting in the box next to Kevy and still riding
blowing up.
100%.
Yeah. If he's invested in it, he'll give 100% to that all the time.
Yeah, he's a very passionate man and very successful man. But I do wonder what that blood pressure is. We might need to get a market there. Over 170 and a half. I'll take the overs.
Oh, he was stressing hard in the late round, and that poor chair copped the brunt of it. Great front kick from him, and put the chair on its bum.
Yeah, might see him in the Masters UFC with front kicks like that. Wonder how he goes on Mad Monday if he actually does have a beer and sort of relax a little bit.
I would say Melbourne's Mad Monday is probably not as impressive as some of the other clubs.
Well, from what I was saying, I think the likes of Munster and the Cheese, they go pretty hard.
They fly under the radar a bit down there.
Yeah. You see that photo of Munster chewing Cameron's ear off, and Cameron didn't look like he was very interested.
His Cameron's like, mate, I'm almost 40.
Yeah, I've been to 8 of these after a grand final. Yeah, I got kids and shit.
So speaking of Cameron, I don't think there's any official word yet that he has retired. Very much with everything that went on, it sounds like it's very doable. But then, as we're saying, Craig's got one more year. Maybe he goes for one more year with Craig, and they'll both finish up together. Very close friends and very close mates.
How's he approaching this? Is he going to do a bit of an off-season, do you think, see how his body feels and make a decision?
Well, it doesn't seem like he carried any injuries all year.
To me, this says he's
healthy.
Good. To me, this sounds like he's going
He did something to his ribs.
Oh, so that's the story that the last 3 weeks of finals, he played with a cracked rib.
Ah,
yeah.
So kept that very under wraps.
Yeah. Very under wraps.
I think after the Souths game, there was footage of him, and when he was taking his jersey off, everyone could see he had a huge amount of padding on his right side, I think it was.
Yeah.
So I think it's come out since then that, he played the last couple of weeks with cracked ribs, which, again, very impressive.
Yeah. If anyone's ever had a rib injury, they'll know that
painful.
Nothing worse.
Yeah. Any muscle movement in that area hurts. And
cough, sneeze, roll over in bed, make 50 tackles, etc.
Exactly. Yeah. He makes 40 plus every game, and you're just like, how does he do that? How does he maintain that week to week? But
he's tough. He's as tough as they come.
Yeah. Consummate professional. He's always played really, really well.
Yeah.
I guess it's totally up to him whether he thinks he can do it again for another year. Considering next year may be a full season, whereas this year was a bit of a shortened season. So whether he could do that for 26 rounds plus finals.
Not drastically shortened this year, mind you. They played 22, didn't they?
Yeah.
So two games shorter than
it's still a month less of football though. So
yes.
Yeah. It does help, but it wasn't the shorter season, of course. And of course, they played a month of football. I think they got 4 weeks and then had 3 weeks, 3 months off.
Which is really hard to keep your body, in shape during that time. Perhaps it's a harder season this year, and having to play later in the year, playing in Queensland the whole time.
Yeah.
Well, for the Storm, I reckon that would work in their favour because they're just focused on football and nothing else.
Yeah.
I think they're down there. They're probably focused on football and nothing else.
Well,
if Craig gets his way, he'd have him in the door every day.
Yeah,
get in at 7, get out at 7. You're here for 12 hours.
Yeah.
We're going to put in work. So that kind of finishes up our grand final chat. But the next bit of NRL, which is probably a bit of a cap in the hat, considering the AFL season's now finished. They've got a clear slate and it's just them playing football.
Yeah. November State of Origin. How good.
November State of Origin.
How good.
So first game is Wednesday?
Yeah, this Wednesday coming up. So we've got
a couple of days away.
The Melbourne Cup on Tuesday, Interstate of Origin on Wednesday. I'm sure that's never happened in Australian sporting history. Very exciting for us, though.
So I think we'll dive into a bit of the State of Origin with the teams named. So Ryan Pappenhausen was left out of the squad. He's Peppy beer. Whoa, head everywhere.
A lot of Travis Head coming out of that beer. Anyways, she'll be right.
So Pappenhausen's out. I think he twinged his calf on, and he's saying he did it when he did his big dive over the sideline to hit that ball back in, that he's overstretched and hurt himself. So that's why Pappenhausen has missed out. James, do you want to see if you can bring up the teams for Wednesday of who they've actually picked? Because both teams picked 27 in the squad, I believe.
Yeah, I think they've come down to 21 now.
Yeah, they're down to 21. They've got the full team.
So 17 of Queensland's 27 were uncapped, so they're all new guys.
That is obscene to think of. That there's 10 guys in a squad of 27 that have played State of Origin before.
7 debutants, and for Queensland, one of those, of course, being Nathan Friend, who's, I think, the oldest debutant for them.
Yeah, he must be about 34 or something.
Yeah. Of course, he's been missing out because of
Jake Friend,
sorry, yes.
Yeah, there wasn't Nathan.
There wasn't Nathan Friend, Jake Friend, yes. The Roosters hooker.
Yes.
Because there was a bloke called Cameron Smith that played in front of him for many, many years.
Heard of him.
So the most capped rep teams, Storm got 9, Roosters got 7, Rabbits got 6, Penrith only got 5, and the Dragons got 5. Why he'd pick 5 Dragons players, I don't know, but anyway.
Perennial underperformers, that's why. Just a correction there. Jake Friend's actually only 30. He has played a lot of football. He's played 263 games, pretty good at the age of 30.
Well, if he's been playing since he's early 20s, if not
earlier. Debuted for the Roosters when he was 18.
Yeah. So 12 years in already.
Congrats to Friendy getting his first nod.
Can he start?
Yep.
That's it. So let's run through the squads. Who do you want to start with? Who you got there, James?
All right, so on the Maroon side, we've got...
let's start with the Maroons.
Yeah, so at fullback, we've got Alex Brimson.
Yeah, AJ Brimson making his debut from the Gold Coast Titans. He's had a pretty good year and rightfully getting that number 1 jersey.
Mm-hmm.
And then the 2 wingers, we've got Xavier Coates and Philip Sammy.
Mm-hmm.
So Xavier Coates, how many games did he end up playing this year? It was about halfway through the season he made his debut.
Yep, that sounds about right.
Pretty impressive for him to bust into an
I think
Origin
he missed.
team.
I think he missed a game or two as well. Because as you know, with Brisbane, they were chopping and changing that squad, trying to get a win. But Coates has come on very strong, so we'll be interested to see how he goes.
I believe he's the 4th Papuan born player to make an Origin side.
Mm-hmm.
He is 19 years of age.
Yep, very young.
Let that sink in. 2001 born, and he's played 15 games for the Broncos. He actually made his debut last year.
Yeah, that sounds about right. He played a few games last year towards the end of the year.
Very impressive to play 15 games in the top flight and make State of Origin.
Mm-hmm.
So at 3 and 4, we've got Branko Lee and Dan Gagai.
Garbage, Branko Lee. Garbage.
You were mentioning this in the grand final.
Look, I wouldn't want to tackle Branko Lee personally, but there's a lot of guys
Big boy.
If
you watch his defence in the grand final, I think they put 2 on him. So he's garbage.
And Gagai as well.
I like Gagai. I think he has to be in the side.
And has been a great Origin player over the years, like really steps up for Origin.
Scores a lot of tries.
Probably had a quiet year. Is that fair to say this year?
I don't think he hasn't been playing out of position, but I don't think he's been playing his preferred. I think he wants to be 1.
Yep.
But he ended up playing a bit of wing and a bit of centre, I think.
Yeah, I think a bit of a mixed bag this year for Dan Gagai.
Moving around depending on where Latrell was in and out of the squad and then how Alex Johnson was going. So, but they still scored points Souths. They were very offensive heavy and and they attacked really well. we just kind of, I think he got lost in the fact that Latrell and Alex Johnson were having big years there.
Yeah, for sure. Just on Gagai, he's played 13 games for Queensland, 11 tries. Pretty impressive, including a hat-trick last year or the year before, perhaps.
Yeah, I think Darius was very similar as well, but that's probably a benefit of playing outside GI. It helps.
Yeah.
That's it. So at 5'8", we've got Cam Munster.
Yeah, I was going to say, can you guess? You know who the halves are, the Munster and DCE.
That's
no knocking against the Blues half pairing, who are very good. I think this is probably the only spot on the field where the Maroons might have the edge.
I'd say yes. I agree with you, Bebby. I reckon Maroons have the better halves pairing. I would have thought New South Wales would have a better halves pairing if they played Jack Wyden at 6.
Yes, we'll get to that in a sec. I tend to agree with you there also, Sean.
Yeah. Moving on. Forward pack.
So, props. We've got Christian Welch and Josh Big Papa.
Did Christian Welch come off the bench for them last year? Yeah. Or is he uncapped?
I think he's uncapped. It doesn't ring a bell.
We'll have a look at that.
Yeah. So they're the props. Hooker, we've got Jake Friend, as we've
so Friend's hooker, and I think Ben Hunt ended up being on the interchange, and Harry Grant misses out.
Big omission of Harry Grant. He'll get his time.
Definitely. Yeah. He finished the year, I think, hurt though, didn't he?
Yeah, I think
he missed a few games through injury, so might have helped.
Christian Welch did play 2 games last year off the bench. I don't think he started.
No.
And then in the second row, we've got Kafusi and Hess.
Yep. I don't know why Hess gets a start, but yeah, he's been average this year.
Both experienced guys, I guess. Kafusi's good. Not a bad player at all, but one of the real strong points of New South Wales is their second rowers.
Definitely.
Definitely.
Hess is a huge body though, but I don't like his chances against the New South Wales forward back. I think he's more of an impact player. You take off the bench and he plays 20 minutes either half.
He's not bad for a sneaky meat pie here and there, Cohen Hess, but it's hard. Sometimes with the Cowboys guys, same as the Titans, they can sort of fly under the radar.
Maybe Wayne's wants to start big. Take Hess off after 20 and go a bit smaller, or maybe take him off after 30 and go a bit smaller. See if he batter New South Wales pack a little bit in the start. Be interesting to see.
Not sure, yeah.
Here's going to be my favourite moment of the podcast. Good luck saying this one, Monks.
I was going to say I'm going to butcher the lock. So at lock we've got Tino Fasua Malaya.
Yeah, that was better than I was expecting.
That's better than if I'd attempted it.
I'm going to give it a crack. Tino Fasua Malaya. Full apologies, a few white boys and an Asian boy here just trying to get our names, get our heads around the Islander names. Sorry, Tino, for the mispronunciations.
We'll just call you for Big T from now on.
Yeah, so Big T sounds good. Don't eat us, please.
Where's he play from?
He's a Melbourne player.
Melbourne? Yeah. I thought so.
It's not a name that I'm super familiar with. I'm sure he came off the bench. He was in the 17. He might not have even played on the week. Oh no, I think he got on. He got on.
He didn't have too much, so he made 4 tackles.
Must have come off the bench then.
Yeah.
He was named at 15. I'm just having a look. He scored 7 tries this year. It's pretty impressive. Played all 22 games for Melbourne, so he's obviously had a really good year and deserves that spot. And he's a big boy as well, 197 centimetres, 107 kgs. Be interesting to see how he goes.
Definitely.
So who's on the bench, James?
Yep. So then on the bench we've got Ben Hunt, Lindsay Collins, Jai Arrow, and Jaden Sewer.
So
interesting that Arrow doesn't get the start, but I think I might be onto something here with Wayne wanting to go a bit bigger to start with.
Yeah, I reckon you might be right there because Hess is massive, Tino is massive. Obviously, Papa and Christian Welch are big guys.
Huge, and the bench, Lindsay Collins is not the smallest bloke, but
he's
him and Arrow,
a little bit undersized.
You can see they're probably undersized, so they're more of your movement forwards. But guys that definitely could come on after 20, 30 and be very strike power when the other boys are getting tired. So, interesting. So, what do you think about Ben Hunt being on the bench?
I think that they're 14. He's a good interchange.
He's a pretty good
utility player.
He played 9, 6 or 7. So
exactly, and he's done that all year for the Dragons. They've, he played some 7, played some 9, played some off the bench, which I'm not real happy about when he's getting paid 1.1 million a year. But anyways, he's a good player. He's one of those confidence guys, when he's on, he's on, and when he's off, he's off.
Yeah.
But he'll at least bring a bit of experience to a very underexperienced Queensland side.
And of course, he does have that relationship with Wayne of being up in there in Brisbane before he left. So maybe Wayne can get some more out of him. We'll have to see. I'd be interested to see what Wayne's kind of effect on the coaching is. Nothing against Kevy Walters, but Wayne Bennett's Wayne Bennett.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing against Kevy, but Wayne's probably the GOAT.
Yeah.
So he'll only have positive influence on that Queensland side, you would think. So Lindsay Collins and Jaden Sewer are both debutants as well. I'm just trying to get up some numbers here for Jaden Sewer. I know he's played 60 first grade games, so not exactly the youngest pup. He's obviously been playing at South this year, who had a tremendous year. He played 21 games, had 2 tries and a try assist, and was averaging 101 run meters a game. So he's going to be good hitting the ball up for them off the bench. And
so for me, this kind of has a bit of a feeling of maybe it's not this year, but of 06, where the Queensland were coming off 3 defeats, and everyone's talking about should we keep playing player in Origin, New South Wales keeps winning. And 06, of course, is where they started their run.
Yeah, it started the dynasty.
But again, they started very young. Half the squad was debutants. Kind of that new blood coming through.
Well, you had those young guys like Slater.
Again, you did end up with 4 guys that were immortals.
Inglis,
one that did become an immortal, and Lockyer as well. So
yeah.
And it helped. But
and some possible future immortals, we should say.
Yes, true.
Depending if they amend that, which you'd think they would based on those names.
Oh, you could not argue that Cameron, JT, and Cronk shouldn't be in there at some stage, after Darren finished. But
I think that's a discussion for another day, because we could talk about that for a very long time.
My point being that it has that feeling because they went very young. I think they put Israel and GI were debutants in that squad, and there's a whole bunch of other debutants. Well, these bollocks we're talking about, that was very early in their careers. I think Darren was one of the older blokes in that team at the start.
He would have been.
But it has that
one of the old heads there. Big guys there.
That's probably when he could actually talk before he took the shots in the throat. But it feels to me like that could be the start. Might not be this year. They could very much get 3-0 this year, but this debutant getting them wet in the Queensland, the State of Origin arena could very much lead into, I don't want to say another decade of dominance, but a decade of competition, and then it could be very, very competitive. I'd like to see what they do this year. I think they could probably sneak one. If they sneak Adelaide, then they could be in with a big chance.
Yeah, because the last game's in Sydney, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, exactly.
So if they can win on Wednesday, that really puts a pressure on the Blues.
Yeah,
definitely.
I like your enthusiasm and your optimism, Sean. I'm going to play devil's advocate here, and I'm going to say that it is good that these young guys are getting blooded for the Maroons, but here comes New South Wales dynasty. I believe
let's run through the New South Wales squad.
As a blue-eyed man, let's get into that squad and we'll have a look, and the listeners can make up their mind.
If we talk about this back line, I can, and the amount of options they had in this back line too.
Oh yeah, the guys that missed out. Monks, take
Definitely,
it away.
100%. So at fullback, obviously we've got James Tedesco.
So I'm not sure what the recent news is to Tedesco. There's still a question of fitness and whether he can actually play.
Right.
I think he's been named to one, but I think they're going to give him all the way up to game time. I
think he'll play.
He'll play.
What's busted up? Do you know?
Yeah.
Hamstring, maybe something leg related.
If in doubt, go hammy.
Yeah. If in doubt, go something leg related for fullback.
For a fullback, definitely.
Because there's been some recent chat about how he'll go, because I think he finished up after that Rays game a bit banged up too, and he had some injuries, which I think were hamstring leading up to that. So he's got a bit of a sore hamstring. But whether he can keep going and keep playing.
Yep. Well, I guess we'll find out on Wednesday.
Yep.
So then outside of him at the wingers, we've got Daniel Tupou and Josh Adokar.
Tupou makes his return to the New South Wales Blues. He didn't play on the wing last year, I don't believe.
No,
obviously capped and really good under the high ball.
Definitely.
Big physical presence.
Had a good year this year, of course.
Yep.
I think Kotrick played on the wing for them last year, and I don't think Kotrick's in the side this year. He missed out. He was in the squad, but he missed out.
Correct.
In game 1.
Yep. And then centres, we've got Clint Gutherson and Jack Whiten.
So Gutho making his New South Wales Blues debut.
So I think if Tedesco misses out, Clint goes to King goes to 1. Yeah.
Right.
And then Zach Lomax, I think, is in the 21. He probably makes his debut.
Well, he either comes in or maybe Kotrick could play in the centres.
Did they name him in the squad? Do you know?
Kotrick's not in the squad.
Oh, he's not in the squad? Okay.
So I think Lomax.
Because I know Tommy Turbo's there, but I'm not sure he's healthy enough to play game 1 either.
Right.
Because I was talking about
Imagine
him.
if everyone's healthy. Jeez. This side is scary.
Very
well, like we're
so.
talking the options.
Yeah,
and plug and play.
The depth.
Yeah.
And then, so at 5'8", we've got Luke Keary.
Ooh.
Halfback, we've got Nathan
Jack at
Cleary.
6.
Sean obviously thinks the Dally M winner, Jack Whiten, should be playing 6, where he won the Dally M this year.
Mm-hmm.
I don't mind them picking Keary. God, it's hard not to say Cleary sometimes. I'm looking at it as well.
Well, it's so bad. How similar the names are.
Say the first name first, and it becomes easier. Luke Keary.
Yeah. Luke and Nathan.
Yeah, he didn't have a bad year. But yeah, Whiten obviously
had an unreal year.
Yeah, won the Dally M from 6, and just his ball running. Keary's not going to take on the line like Whiten.
I think they feel more dangerous with him at 6 than you bring in one of these other blokes we're talking about and play centre.
Yeah,
that just feels way more dangerous.
Yeah,
Cleary at 6.
I agree as well. But obviously Luke Keary's an old head. He's won grand finals. He's played Origin before.
True, but he's not the oldest head either. He's
only in his mid-20s.
Exactly. He's no Cooper Cronk or Cameron Smith. Those guys have been around for yonks.
To be truthful, he's he's a bit of a liability in defence. So I'd much rather Big Jackie there. Yep. You know, trying to tackle some of these big boys that Wayne's gone with rather than Keary. Goes
to our theory of Wayne wanting to go big. Maybe they target Cleary early.
I'd say that'd be a chance, Hopefully one of the big boys from the Blues can stand either side of him and help him in defence.
Oh, well, definitely. We're playing at 6. He'll have one of the second rows sitting next to him, and of course he'll have one of the big centres next. He'll probably have Jack on his outside.
Yeah, exactly right. Yeah, so maybe there's not that much difference. It's just where they're going to line up, I suppose.
Yeah. But they'll definitely try to isolate him and see if they can take
him. And on the contrary, New South Wales will try and hide him, I think, in defence.
Oh, definitely.
Just try and make use of his passing ability and kicking game.
Well, we'll come to the second row when we get there, but keep going, James.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say let's start off on the second row. So we've got Cordner and Frizzell.
Yeah. So I think Cordner's very much his bodyguard when he plays the Roosters, so it wouldn't surprise me if that is the same case.
Well, do you think that's why he's in the squad at 5'8", having Cordner there with him?
Yeah, possibly.
Possibly.
Yeah, they play off each other and they'd know each other's lines and the way that they play footy. That's something I hadn't considered, Monkey.
Well, Cordner is the captain, yes?
Yes.
Yeah.
Speaking of, Cherry Evans is captain for Maroons as well.
Yeah. Figured as much. Yeah. I'd be concerned with both of those boys. Hopefully they can play 80. Because they've had... Keary had a pretty good year this year, concussion head knock wise, up until that Raiders game. His previous year was pretty average. I think he had 3 or 4. So you worry about that. And then I think Boyd had the 3 or 4 this year. So you worry about that, especially in a big game like this. Luckily, there's no Nate Miles dropping heads, tackling with his forehead this year. But
speaking of Nate Miles, Big Boyd's got a pretty big noggin on him. I think I'm not a doctor. I'm hoping he can absorb some of those head knocks.
Oh well, you don't worry about this game so much, but then you worry about his how long his career is going to be, and then what's his future life going to be.
Yes, for sure. It's a unfortunate and very scary side of these really hard contact sports, of which rugby league is arguably the toughest.
Yep.
But yeah, this back 3 for the Blues, along with Jake Trbojevic, who Monkey hadn't mentioned. I'll break that there. That's an awesome back. That back row is unreal. Yeah. And they'll cause the Maroons all kinds of.
I think Jake's coming back from an injury.
Definitely.
He finished the year hurt. Arm.
I'm trying to remember.
I think I
can't remember.
Broke his forearm.
Yeah.
Maybe. I don't think it was leg related. I think it was arm related. Because I know Tommy was leg related.
Yeah.
Jake was...
Tommy Turbo's had the recurring hamstring problems.
He's got dodgy hamstrings.
So I bring up that about Jake. We'll go through the rest of the team. So up prop, we've got Daniel Safiti.
Yep.
He debuted last year, didn't he? For the Blues. I think he played all three last year.
Yep.
And on the other side, we've got Junior Paulo.
Junior Paulo.
Yeah. Big boy.
Hey, that's his...
Scary. That's his first cap, I think.
First cap for him, yep. And again, that could be another reason why Wayne wants to go big.
Yeah.
Because Junior side is the biggest.
So big. So scared. Like, sometimes you look at the game and you think, geez, it's a tough game. And then you look at Junior Paulo and you go, oh, shit, I'm more than happy to sit in here and drink a beer and talk about this game rather than having to even imagine him running at you.
We've got to remember he and Shannon Boyd played together at the Raiders. And
yeah.
Shannon retired of this year's. I think he might be going to Super League, so he's going over to England to finish out his career. But again, a huge human being and not blokes you want running at you.
Oh, God, no.
Definitely not.
So who was 9?
Yeah, wrapping out the first 13. We've got Dan Cook at number 9.
Yeah, Damien Cook's...
Damien Cook,
Yeah.
Oh, you'd pick him.
Yeah, best 9. I think Cameron McInnes has had a really good year for the Dragons, but Cookie's the best 9 now with Smith out of the picture. I'd say Cookie is the best 9 available.
Yep.
Obviously, with Smith being out of the picture, I'm saying Cook is the number 1 hooker that can play Origin.
Yeah. So on the bench, we've got Cody Walker, Payne Haas, Cameron Murray, and Angus Crichton.
Yep. All solid.
Yep. Handy bench.
Yeah. Cody Walker had a great year. And
awesome.
Again, can play anywhere. Could probably cover Kiri in the worst case scenario. So he could fill in there. Or he could play in the centres, and then you can play Jack at 6. So and then there's definitely a lot of interchangeability there. So that helps. And then Crichton and what was the other one?
Cam Murray.
Murray had a great year for the Souths. So, and Crichton's been good body, good size for Sydney. So they both can definitely come in and help out the rest of the second rowers. So, but only carrying one front row in Haas. But I guess that's again a bit of a smaller bench. Queensland's bench probably a little bit bigger with Arrow. I guess Arrow was the only prop they had listed. Lindsay Collins, I kind of guess plays a bit of both.
More of a second row, Lindsay Collins. I suppose Jakey Turbo or Tyson Frizzell could possibly play as a true prop.
Big guys that have missed out. So.
Yeah. This just at the last little note here on the teams. So there's 3 guys making their debut for the Blues: Gutherson, Keary, and Paulo.
Yep.
As opposed to, just let me take a breath here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys getting their first start for the Maroons.
Yep.
Thoughts? I know which way.
Yeah.
Sean's optimistic.
Who do you think is going to win? Where's that?
Sean's optimistic. I think the bookies have got this first game in Adelaide. The Blues are about $1.37 and Maroons are about $3.50.
Oh, good money. Queensland.
It's Origin. You'd never want to write anyone out, but if there's any year that the Blues could sweep, I think it could be this year.
Hopefully it's closer than expected.
Yeah. That said, as a big New South Wales Blues fan, you don't really want to see blowouts. You like to see close games. So hopefully this underexperienced Queensland side really shows up on Wednesday. It gives it their all and makes an entertaining game out of it.
Yeah, well, last year they played really well in Brisbane and won game 1, but then faded pretty badly in in Perth. So it'd be interesting to see how they travel, whether they play well outside of Queensland. But they'll have a crowd in Adelaide, won't they? Yeah, there'll be a big crowd in Adelaide.
Shout out to Mickey Steamson. I think he's going to the game, one of our friends and
up the rank
contributors to on the Esky. He's going to the game out there at the Adelaide Oval. I think he said they're going half capacity, so that's nearly 30,000.
Yep. It's a big number.
Good numbers, yeah.
Yeah, I think Queensland will probably have, what do they let in for the grand final AFL? 20-something?
Less than, like 15, I think.
I think it's around that 20 number. But Suncorp, being a bigger stadium, they gather, but they probably do 20 or, again, half capacity.
Yeah.
And Sydney will be like, fill it.
Don't want to get too political on this show, but it is a Queensland election today. Be interested to see if that has any influence on the number of people allowed to go to that game.
So
Hashtag voter out.
Yeah. To finish up the State of Origin, so they play. It's 3 weeks. So there's a game
back to back
games every week for the next 3 weeks.
every Wednesday. I'm playing bloody indoor soccer on Wednesday nights, and didn't even cross my mind that.
Well, you missed out. The rest of us can watch it.
Very disappointing, really. But oh well. I tell you what, if it goes to game 3 and it's one apiece, the whole team might be forfeiting anyway. So.
Well, your competition will probably forfeit.
Yeah,
might
that's
show
right,
up
yeah.
as there's no one here. We'll come all this way.
Yeah, that's right.
Anyway, that finishes up the NRL chat for this week. We will now move into some Yank sports, and we will start off with the NFL. James, do you want to run us through the games from last week?
Yep, I can get started on that.
I think the big one was the Titans-Steelers game. I'll jump in there while you bring some of that up.
Well, yeah.
The last two unbeaten teams.
Cardinals Seahawks as well.
Yeah. Also a great game. We'll get to that because that was the Monday night game, I think.
Yeah, probably the most entertaining. I suppose what you're saying is the most important game.
Yep. Of unbeaten teams left in the AFC, I believe, were the two.
Yes.
In the end, the Steelers come away with that one after the Titans kicker, which is it Gronk? Not Gronk. Goskowski.
Another Polish fella.
Misses, I think it was a chip shot. It was either a 30 or 40 yard field goal to tie the game. Steelers, he misses, of course, and Steelers go on to win.
After Big Ben threw 3 picks.
Mm-hmm. Titans look good, though.
Yeah, they sure
in a losing side, their defense played well. Their offense has got surprisingly got a lot of good weapons. Davis and Brown have been playing really well for them.
Mm-hmm.
And, of course, they got Derrick Henry there to pound the rock.
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Tannehill didn't turn the ball over as per usual. 220 yards, 2 touchdowns, no picks for him. Derrick Henry, probably by his standards, a bit of a quiet game. 20 carries, 75 and a touchdown.
But you'd take that as the Steelers defense, though.
The way that he's been playing and making people look like children.
What was the final score? 26?
27-24.
Yeah, 27.
AJ Brown, as you mentioned, he had a huge game, 6 for 153 and a touchdown. But yeah, that's Steelers' offense. If they don't turn the ball over, that they can be really good. They managed to sneak away.
The defense is going to keep them in games.
Sneak away with a win there. That defense is, if it's not the best in the NFL, it's a top 3.
I think what this game probably showed is you got to worry about their secondary a little bit, especially the corners. Someone like AJ Brown getting a big day.
Yeah. Who they got? Would it have been Joe Hayden that went to
Joe
AJ
Hayden
Brown?
And no, I think he's the 2. We've had this discussion and we can't remember who the number 1 is for the Steelers defensive corner because it's not Hayden. Hayden I think is 2.
Right.
It's not Ward because he's Cleveland. Anyway, what's the next game, James? I'll find out who plays.
Yeah, come back to that one.
All right. So Thursday night we had Philadelphia at home beating the Giants.
That's right. The toilet bowl.
The toilet bowl. Rather entertaining toilet bowl.
It did end up being entertaining.
Close game, yeah.
In the toilet division of the NFL, the NFC East, which, well, we'll get to the Cowboys later, but that is really looking like a steaming pile of shit, really.
Yes. But Eagles very much in the driver's seat for that one.
Yeah, and the week before they didn't look bad against the Ravens. They've beaten the 49ers. Maybe the Eagles are the best team in that division.
I mean, they're the best team at 2-4-1 over the Washington football team at 2-5.
Yeah,
Cowboys at 2-5 as well.
Yeah.
They're
in all sorts of that division.
Makes you wonder if Saquon stayed healthy.
Yeah.
If Saquon's healthy, are they a 5-2 team? No. Mm-hmm. Could they have won 2 more games than they have? Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. Oh, he definitely helps.
Yeah, you might win that division at 7-9. So
I think Freeman's hurt too.
Yeah, I think so. I think Wayne Gorman was getting a fair bit of the action there at running back for the Giants.
Yeah. So to answer the previous question, Steven Nelson is the other cornerback for the Steelers.
Yeah.
So maybe it is Joe Hayden that is playing one for them.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Oh, the best thing from this game, mind you, did anyone see Daniel Jones about to rip off what should have been like a
80, 90 yard touchdown?
Well, it's from the 20, was it? I think it was from the 20.
Yeah.
And he got sniped.
We got to remember he's coming from his backfield. Like he dropped 7.
Yeah.
He's thinking deep pass, and it was this opened up, and then he takes it. So it probably was about 90 yards.
Who tackled him?
It was an 80. It was an 80-yard run.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mate, Casper the friendly ghost.
Turf
nowhere.
I think he was running down there and he realised that if I win this game, then I don't get better draft picks and I can't get better support. So I'm going to fall over here.
You reckon?
They did end up scoring on that drive, so it probably didn't matter.
It didn't matter in the end, unless you had him like anytime touchdown scorer or fantasy. I don't know why anyone would have Daniel Jones starting quarterback in a fantasy league unless it was like 20 teams in your league.
You might have bet on him to score any time, like a certain Franklin that bets on quarterbacks for rushing touchdowns.
Yeah. Shout out to Big Franklin. It was this game. Let's mention it.
Carson Wentz.
A possible segment holder on the Esky, our big friend Joel Ridge, a.k.a. the Franklin, a.k.a. the Ranklin.
A.k.a. shit tips with Franklin.
Yeah. He's working night shift out in the mines, driving the big 35 tonners. Sent through his Friday morning pick for the NFL, $50, a casual pineapple on Carson Wentz, first touchdown scorer at $15. Nice win, Frankie. I'm sure all of that money went into a high interest account and hasn't been accessed.
I'm just having a look at the box score for this game. So Daniel Jones led the rushing off the back of that run. 92 yards. He also, in terms of yards, he led the entire field. The next closest was Richard Rodgers at 85 yards receptions. So
it helps when you have an 80-yard run.
Imagine if he didn't tackle himself, he could have had another 15 at the end of it.
He just forgot how to run it the back half of it.
God, it looks bad. Yeah. If anyone's not a
big strides and
if anyone doesn't follow the NFL and you're listening, just if you want to have a little chuckle, YouTube Daniel Jones trips over NFL, something like that. You'll have a little laugh.
He needs to go watch DK and then he'll learn how to run with big strides.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Right, moving on. Too much on the toilet bowl.
Yeah.
As I tend to do on other toilet bowls.
So moving right along, we had Detroit beating out Atlanta 23-22 at Atlanta.
And
another week, the Falcons blow a lead, water's wet.
Yeah, well, the Lions, I think they scored with time expiring. Last play, TJ Hawkinson, the tight end, gets a touchdown and they win that game.
What did they give the ball back to him with? It was like a minute, 8 seconds or something, and they had no timeouts.
This was Gurley's fault because they were. I think he's taken the blame for this because he was meant to run out the clock and they told him don't score. He's gone through and the Lions players were going to let him through and score.
Yeah.
But the Lions safeties come up and tried to make a tackle. So I don't know if like they both kind of thinking like they're playing normally and then they both realize that, hey, no, I'm meant to let you through. And then Gurley, so he lets go of Gurley and then Gurley's like moving forward. He's got momentum. And he's like, wait, I'm not meant to be scoring, and kind of falls down. But by that point, it's too late. The ball's already crossed the plane. So they score.
This was a massive thing in a Super Bowl, wasn't it? In one of the Giants-Patriots ones? Yeah. I can't remember who the running back was, but same thing. Yeah, it was meant to fall over. And
Tiki was a Barber for Giants.
It might have been Tiki Barber.
Yeah. Very similar thing, yeah. Again, gives the ball back to Stafford and he, give him the ball, he can definitely move their offense. And, of course, they did. They moved down, got in range, and they scored to win that game.
And for our part-time NFL listeners that are possibly Australian-based, hard to comprehend why you'd give yourself up and not score. The idea being that you can pretty much hold the ball then from the 1 yard line and kill the game with a last-second field goal rather than scoring the touchdown and giving the ball back to the opposition with a minute left.
Yep.
But also quite funny if anyone wants to Google Todd Gurley falls in the end zone.
Yeah.
Very much so. All right, so next game up, we had Cleveland beating Cincinnati 37-34 at Cincinnati.
Mm-hmm. Interesting game. OBJ goes out with ACL, so done for the year. Baker actually plays better after OBJ goes out.
Yeah, go figure.
Yeah, he had a very poor start to that game, and I think Cincinnati were in front. OBJ gets hurt, goes out, and then they come back and end up winning that game.
Well, I think Baker started with like 1 from 5 and a pick, and then went berserk and threw 5 touchdowns, no picks, for like 300 and something, 297 he had.
So what's the problem? Is the problem trying to force it to OBJ, getting his numbers up? Or?
I wonder. I feel it's more coincidental. Because they don't try and force it.
When there's smoke, there's fire.
I suppose. They don't try to force it to it. Like OBJ has just kind of been a bit of a non-factor other than that Dallas game. The Tuggeranong Tornadoes have tortured Dallas defense, I reckon, at the moment.
Maybe it was a change and the defense kind of wasn't prepared for it. Like they've probably heavily game planned of like, well, we've got to double OBJ, we're going to have to take him out. And then it's like, well, he's out. What are we going to do? Well, maybe play more zone. Maybe we man up on whoever comes in. And it just didn't work. It gave Baker the opportunity to spread around a bit more. Maybe guys got open a little bit easier because they were just Cincinnati a bit off in that.
And Jarvis Landry didn't really step that much up either. He had 5 catches for 48 yards. Rashad Higgins, trying to remember that name. He had 6 for 110. Didn't find the end zone, but had a massive game after OBJ left. And Harrison Bryant and I think he's a draft pick this year, Donovan Peoples-Jones, found the end zone a combined 3 times between them.
Yep.
Browns win 5-2 in a very difficult division, but with that 7th team this year, don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves, but
again, they only just beaten Cincinnati, so I don't know if they're for real yet.
Maybe we're getting too far ahead of ourselves. But
their record looks good, but I'm not sure if they're that good.
If only they were in the NFC East.
yeah, definitely.
Yep. So next up we had
Bengals look good though. Joe Barrow still looks good though.
Yes.
Been playing
yeah,
definitely.
To finish up on the Bengals chat.
Threw for 406 yards. Yep.
How'd Mixon go? I haven't.
Hurt. Mixon's hurt.
Oh, that is big news for them. Yes.
Because
didn't suit up.
I think he's out this week too.
Right.
Which is a big out for them.
Big time.
Yes. Yeah. So moving on, we had the Saints at home beating Carolina 27-24.
Carolina
Panthers sneaky
good.
We know this is a very unusual circumstance considering we're broadcasting on a Saturday, so we know that Carolina lost yesterday
to the Falcons. In semi-toilet bowl, but based on records and where they kind of are at the moment.
It's pretty toilet bowl-y.
Yeah, it was a wet game, so let's say it was toilet bowl-y.
I won for my punters club. Shout out to the Swingers Club. I hope you're all listening.
But we'll come to that game, but later on. But sorry,
I was just going to say.
I interrupted Peppy.
Go Peppy, go Swingers Club. That's all I had to say there.
But we'll come back and talk more about that game when we talk about this week's games.
Yes.
Not Penrith.
Penrith Panthers.
The Carolina Panthers. I've been pretty good. Teddy's been not too bad when he hasn't turned the ball over, which is probably the story for this week's game.
That's it. Yeah. So I suppose moving on, we had
New Orleans though playing well. Mike Thomas still hurt. Out this week.
And the Saints' defense is pretty sneaky good. They allowed 37 rush yards against the Panthers in that game. Allowed them to get away with a 27-24 win, you'd say. Some bloke called Alvin Kamara had 14 for 83 and 8 receptions for 65.
He's unreal.
He's pretty good at football.
Not complaining about that.
Yeah.
No.
CMC still out for the Panthers. He didn't play this week, of course, but he should be back next week.
And they have their buy in hand, I believe.
So they've got to buy and then...
So week 10?
No, week 9, I think. So this is 8 this week. They've already played. You're right. Could be week 10.
Yeah, it could be week 10 back.
Yep. Okay, next one we had Buffalo beating New York Jets in New York 18-10.
Closer game, and I don't think there was a touchdown score in this game, or was there one?
No, the Jets scored one, and the Bills kicked 6
field goals. Yeah. Bills.
What do you think about the Bills? Are they for real?
They should have done better, I would have thought, against the Jets.
Yeah, and they looked real ordinary a couple of weeks ago
Jets,
against the Chiefs. I suppose everyone looks ordinary against the Chiefs.
Yeah, I think Josh Allen's in a bit of a dry spell at the moment. He's a bit flat.
Because they started on fire, and everyone's thinking, maybe they're a legitimate chance this year. They'll win that division. You'd think that in the AFC.
Yeah, well, Patriots aren't doing anything.
The Finns
are switching quarterbacks. Well, they're switching quarterbacks, so I don't see how they go.
And we'll get to that. But I think the Bills don't go deep in playoffs. They win that division, but they don't go deep. They can't score a touchdown against the Jets.
Yeah. Denver scored like 6, so.
True that. True that.
Keep going.
So we're probably going to talk a little bit about this one, but we had Washington football team at home beating out Dallas 25-3.
Yeah. Andy Dalton gets hurt and leaves halfway through that game.
Did you see that?
Yeah.
So he's
concussion. Yes.
Absolutely
And
headhunted.
Yeah.
that was bad. Like
Oh, it was bad.
he slid and
Ball's gone. I don't think he had the ball anymore, and the guys just come through. Helmet just
no, it was
smashed
a
him.
slide, wasn't it? I thought he had the ball and he slid and then got lit up helmet to helmet.
Mm.
Might have to look that
I might
up.
be confusing other ones, but yeah. There's been some pretty hard hits on quarterbacks. Teddy, of course, took a big one yesterday, which was knocked him out of the game for, I think, a quarter.
A bit of a trip type thing in that game. But, yeah, this one looked like a real headhunting, try and get a big shot on the red rifle. Dallas had 114 pass yards in that game.
Well, of course, they went to their third quarterback, who is...
Ben DiNucci, household name there.
Yeah.
He actually had 2 of 3 of 39. He might be their starter. They're all kinds of bad, aren't they? And that defense,
their defense is pretty bad.
25 points to the football team. I was reading that the Cowboys, through 7 games this year, have given up more
Patriots.
Patriots are part of this sentence, so I do apologise. The Cowboys have given up more points through the 7 games that they've played this year than the Patriots did in 16
Just
last
made sure there's no volume on that, Monkey.
Yeah, no, we're good. That's right. Couldn't find the video.
Yeah.
Video file not found.
Yeah, they're bad at the moment. Dallas and
man. They're just so stacked. Obviously,
and they've got Eagles, of course, this week. So
big divisional game there.
Big divisional game. Yeah, and I don't see them winning it.
No, I think Philly have been, despite their record, not
better.
Probably not as bad as that record at 2-4-1 suggests.
Mm.
What have we got next? Bucks Raiders.
Yep. We had Bucks in LA beating the Raiders 45-20
in Las Vegas.
Yep.
Yeah, I think you said LA.
Did I?
Yeah.
He probably saw the LV and was like,
it's hard. Yeah, it's hard.
It's Las Vegas. Yes.
Yeah.
So
I don't even know where they're from anymore, either Oakland or LA
Still
or
trying to bring
Vegas or bloody Canberra. I don't know where the Raiders are from.
So TB12 throws 4 touchdowns. He throws one, of course, to Gronk. So him and Gronk are now second all-time for touchdowns as a duo. Behind only Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison, sorry.
Did they who did they pass? That
equaled. I don't think they passed. I think they equal second, but I don't remember who second was.
I thought Montana to Rice would have been a fair few.
But
I suppose Rice was caught balls from Montana half his career and Steve Young half his career.
Exactly.
So that might have stuffed him up.
Yeah. For this one. But for a long-term duo that's been together, it's still impressive. Well, considering one's a tight end in this case.
Yeah, indeed.
Gronk,
indeed. And Gronk also having a bit of a slowish start to the season by his standards.
He's dealing with a bit of a shoulder injury as well. So he played through it in this game, and I think he'll play again this week. Again with his shoulder injury, which I think was an injury he was struggling with when he retired, was his shoulders. So maybe he has a bit of dodgy shoulders that he's just playing through.
His body's just banged up, isn't it?
Oh, even after a year away, it's obviously he's... I don't want to say his size is a deterrent, but it makes it easier to lay shots on him. Bigger they are, harder they fall.
Yeah, it just gives you more of a target, I guess. I don't know. I kind of think the inverse, though. You'd think a bigger body, you'd be able to absorb that contact a little bit more.
He doesn't carry as much mass as some of the other big boys of his size.
Yeah. So. I think his problem is the way he plays the game.
Yeah.
So,
so aggressive.
Tries to jump over people, tries to stiff arm people, tries to truck guys.
Not scared of going over the middle or down the seam.
Has no disregard, has no regard, I should say, for his body whatsoever. Tell you what, though, that record between Peyton Manning and Marvin Harrison might be Bradman-esque. 118 touchdowns, Manning to Harrison. So
you got to remember Peyton threw over 400 as well. So
Brady and Gronk, you wouldn't think catch that mark.
What are they at? Are they in 80 or 90 something?
I think they're in the 80s.
Yeah.
So
if
a fair way off.
It depends if Brady wants to keep playing till he's 45. He might take a few years in there.
The way they're looking, I think Brady's got more longevity in him than Gronk.
Yeah.
Well, Tampa Bay starting to improve. I think they're starting to gel as a team.
Yeah, they're 5-2.
The last couple of weeks, they've definitely been better.
they tore apart Green Bay last week. Green Bay looked really bad in that. And
their defense is looking pretty good as well. So
and
sneaky good.
The Raiders actually haven't been too bad this year. So
to keep Raiders to 20 points is
they've got some weapons there. So
yeah,
it's not too bad.
And we might need to go back and check the records. Was it Pepe that was mentioning watch out for Scotty Miller? A few weeks.
I was about to bring that up.
A few weeks ago, he's a little white guy. He's very fast.
Yep.
Plays out of the slot. He's
where have you heard this before?
Edelman-esque. And him and Brady connected for 6 catches, 109 yards and a touchdown on the weekend on 9 targets.
Yeah, I think Chris Godwin's still a bit banged up, isn't he?
He had 9 for 88 and a touchdown.
Okay, so no, he played.
He's playing, but I'm guessing he's just not producing.
I think him and Mike Evans are both sort of struggling a little bit with hamstring injuries.
Yeah.
Mind you, I think Evans has 5 or 6 touchdown grabs on the year, so it hasn't affected him.
Yep.
Should we speak about another Bucks receiver?
Yes. Keep going.
Who's this?
Explain.
Antonio Brown.
Oh, true. Yes.
Very true.
AB signed last week.
Signed last week. Yep.
Yeah.
So
I think we
suspended.
mentioned it, but still suspended him for
I think
2 weeks.
This week 8, the NFL will make a decision, and then whether to reinstate him or not, and then from week 9 onwards, I'm guessing he should be at the very least practicing. But
here's one for you. That could be the best wide receiving group of all time.
Yeah, that 4.
You know what I mean?
And then their tight end group, even though AJ Howard's hurt now, but
weapons.
Brady's
got some
for
weapons.
days. And then you talk about they've got Ronnie Jones. He's been playing well, and then
he's top 5 rusher in the
and then Fournette's he's back up.
What I was going to say, Fournette was very active in the game as well. So he rushed 11 carries, 50 yards, and then had 6 receptions for 47. So
he doesn't really strike you as a pass catching back. He's got that real big,
just because his
tough
size.
But he don't disregard him catching balls out of the backfield. Obviously, good for 47 yards there. Brady looked at him 7 times. Exciting time to be a Tampa fan.
Definitely. Yes. They're starting to hit their groove and can move forward.
Yeah.
But unfortunately with the Rays losing, you can't get the 3-peat this year, so it'll only be 2 if they get it.
You'd be pretty happy as a...
Look, just the fact that we're winning football games now is more than enough for me.
Indeed.
So to finish my point, so Tampa won the NHL, LA won the NBA, the World Series was won by LA, so that's 2. So if
that's
one of
the Tampa LA series this year, isn't it?
Yeah. So if one of the LA teams win the Super Bowl, which probably unlikely, then they could hit that 3-peat. Well, they're not 3-peat, but the 3 wins from 4 in the major sports. Yeah, the 3 crown. That's a good one. Yeah.
So let's have a think about this. So Miami played LA in the NBA. So it's Florida versus Los Angeles.
Yep.
Tampa and LA in the hockey and in the baseball.
Yep.
It can't happen. It could happen if the Chargers made it.
Yeah.
It can't happen.
Well, it can't
be LA and...
The Rams are still there as well, so...
Yeah, it could be.
The Rams could... my hope would be more on the Rams than on...
You wouldn't think so.
No, you wouldn't think so.
Imagine that. Florida versus Los Angeles, all 4 big American sports.
Oh, wouldn't count. You could count Jacksonville as Florida, but...
Yeah.
I don't like their chances.
The Dolphins...
Yeah.
Anyways, it'd be great to be a citizen of Tampa Bay this year.
Or LA.
Yeah. Very entertaining.
Keep going, James. Let's get right through these games.
All right. So after that, we've got Green Bay at Houston, beating Houston 35-20.
Yeah.
Go Pack, go. They look pretty good in this game.
Big bounce back for the Pack.
Huge.
They look good and they're starting to start roll again. Devontae Adams back, of course, and he had a huge game.
Yep.
Yeah, just a lazy 13 receptions, 196 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, very lazy.
The second best receiver for the week, I think, in fantasy, which is pretty obscene when you think about that stat line. Rodgers had 283 yards, 4 touchdowns, no picks. He is having an excellent year. Aaron Jones was a last-minute scratching injury. Really fucked my fantasy team, but that's all right. It's hard here unless you set an alarm at 4 a.m. to check that last lineup, which I definitely didn't do last Sunday, given the NRL Grand Final was the night before. Really hurt my team. But in terms of the team I go for, Green Bay Packers, they're looking really nice. Their defense is pretty good.
Good bounce back after losing to Tampa. But
obviously Houston aren't having themselves that
They've
good
been
a year.
They've been better since they fired their head coach.
Yeah, I think
but
that they might be one of the better teams that are 1-6. You know,
they've got some talent on the offensive line, and with the trade deadline coming up at the end of this week, there could be a few movements there. I think Will Fuller has been talked about
leaving.
As been dangled out there as part of could be a trade. There's
they won't trade away another good receiver. Obviously, he's not a nuke, but
no, and his biggest issue is of course being hurt. But once he's healthy, he's good. But there's definitely a few others out there at the moment on the trade block.
Better get through these games.
Yeah, let's keep going, Jeff.
Can you tell we like the NFL, listeners?
So after
there's just so many. This is the problem.
Yeah,
that is the problem. After that, we had Kansas City beating out Denver at Denver, 43-16.
Snowball.
Snowed. Denver shot themselves in the foot. I think they turned it over 3 or 4 times. At least 2 picks and at least a fumble. Might have been 2 fumbles. Didn't help themselves, but Chiefs just class above at this point.
They scored 43 points. Mahomes threw the ball 23 times. So, really,
they scored a special teams touchdown as well.
Yeah.
Denver's defense through the first half was pretty good. They held Mahomes very much in check. But, the turnovers, they had a pick 6 and they had a return touchdown on special teams from a kickoff, I think.
Is it Miko Hardman?
Might have been.
Just having a look. You got to scroll a long way down to kick returns.
Yeah.
No. It was my boy Byron Pringle.
Yeah, Pringle.
Byron Pringle. Great snack.
Yep.
So Denver's offense, not where you'd want to see them. Hopefully they have a better game this week against the Chargers. But their defense has been sneaky good. They do lose Mike Purcell for the year. He hurt himself. So they lose the nose tackle. And, again, the injuries keep piling up for Denver.
Yeah.
Yep.
If they were fully healthy, obviously, Von Miller missing the season on defense, they'd be right up there with one of the best in the NFL.
Yeah. Definitely, yeah.
Good things to build for next year, unfortunately. And I hate to say that after 8 weeks. Well, we're not even at the midpoint yet.
No, yeah. So
Let's just beat the Chargers. I ain't sticking to Babby.
One can hope. So next up, we've got San Fran at Boston beating out New England 33-6.
That's I think it was Belichick's worst home loss ever since maybe since coaching the Patriots, because he did coach the Browns before that.
Yeah.
But Belichick
doesn't help when Cam throws 3 picks and he got benched for Stidham.
Yep, Jared Stidham,
who played pretty well, I think.
He turned the ball over as well once, but he was 6-10 for 64.
Yeah. Played it better, let's go with that. But Patriots maybe finally coming back down to earth. After playing really well against the Seahawks in, what was that, week 2 or 3?
Yeah.
They've kind of lost their way a little bit.
Yeah.
After all the COVID they've had. So whether that's
Julian
impacted them.
Edelman's having surgery as well.
Yes.
So they're the ones talking about receiver. So Will Fuller and all those guys on the block for receiver, they're all talking about do they end up with the Patriots. So it's whether they pull the trigger or not.
Patriots don't mind throwing a bit of money at a receiver for a year or 2.
Yeah.
San Fran, they're looking pretty good.
Well, starting to get healthy. They've had a really bad run, and some of those guys are now starting to come back. Jimmy G, of course, getting healthy. That helps. Debo, Samuel.
He did throw 2 interceptions, though.
Yeah, threw 2 picks. 20 of 25, though. Not bad.
Yeah.
Debo didn't finish the game, so he's hurt.
I've got a bone to pick with San Francisco. Why is there one running back that kills it for them 1 week and then he won't play, and then another running back will come in and kill it and then play? Jeffrey Wilson, I don't think many people would have had him in their fantasy lineups on the weekend. Had 112 carries for 3 touchdowns. Obviously, Mostert's been hurt, but they still had Jerick McKinnon. They're one of those teams that there's just anyone that could play running back for him week in and week out. Some guy called Jermichael, I think it is. Let's go with Jermichael.
I'll go with Jermichael.
Strange spelling of Jermichael there. Hasty had 9 for 57. That's pretty good stat line there. That's like anyone could play running back for him, and with that offensive line and that system, anyone can have big games.
So, Pepe, I'll let you in a little secret. Being a long-time Denver fan, very much a Shanahan thing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah, he always does this, doesn't he?
Same. I definitely remember, Tate and Bell were selling foams one week, and the next week he had 100 yards rushing for Denver. So their system very much helps for running backs and the whole cutback system. Like it helps open up lanes and get them holes.
Well,
I don't want to say it's a plug-and-play thing, but the amount of 1,000-yard rushes that Denver had that were different year to year.
Yeah.
The amount of guys that just come in and have a 100-yard rushing game and then disappear for a couple of weeks. Very aware of that. Kills your fantasy team, but I can see the history there.
It didn't even kill mine. I don't even have any of those guys. I'm just saying it's
hard to pick.
Yeah, very difficult. Very hard. Very difficult.
His old man was very much that way, so it doesn't surprise me that it follows down to Shanahan Jr.
I think sure. I've got McKinnon on my team, and he's been riding my bench except for one game where he went off.
Yeah, frustrating. Very frustrating.
And they're also one of the only teams that run a full-time fullback as well.
Yeah, Juszczyk. He's really good.
He's
excellent.
Yeah.
But again, that works very well for that system.
Exactly. So having that extra run, that fullback, just opening up the backfield, just giving him another option. Yeah.
What about charge?
I was just going to ask, do you have anything to say about Cam Newton?
Ooh, is he done?
Don't know.
I've always said as soon as he starts losing, he's not a great quarterback.
Yeah. And I wonder if the missing a couple of weeks with COVID affected where he was. I don't want to say lost his standing, but out of practice.
Had to have played some sort of impact, you would think.
Yeah. And the amount of knowledge and analytics stuff that they have to consume over the Patriots. They definitely push a lot more of that agenda of game planning and it's a lot of strategy. To fall out of that for a couple of weeks, you fall off the bike, you go back on and learn again.
True.
So on that Chiefs game, I just missed a note that Bell actually took a few carries for the Chiefs. Not doing overly much, but he did take a few carries. Keep going.
Yeah, so then we had Jacksonville at the Chargers. Chargers winning 39.
Sounds like Sarah's making margaritas down there for us.
Hopefully. It's definitely not a protein shake. I imagine that's what it is. Anyways, that's my lovely better half
sorry,
in the background perhaps.
Sorry, James. I completely zoned out for what you were saying.
That's right.
We got Bolts and Jags here. Bolts and Jags. High scoring game.
Yeah, so Chargers beating out
they should beat the Jags.
39-28. Justin Herbert had a
day. He had himself a day.
Yeah.
347 passing yards, 3 touchdowns, no picks, and if you don't mind, 66 rushing yards and a touchdown.
He looks good. But the the Jags trade to the Ravens. Their defensive end.
This would be a good one. You have a try.
Yannick.
Yeah.
No idea.
Ngaku. He was really good a few years ago at the Jags. He's kind of...
I think he had 8 sacks last year. He didn't make double digits.
The year before, he had like 14 or something. He was high up in the NFL top 100. He's sort of an undersized defensive end, like really fast speed rusher kind of guy.
Yep.
I think he'll fit in well at the Ravens.
I think the Ravens, Derek Wolf's hurt for them at the moment. But to get a guy like that, just to plug in there.
Yeah, and teams back up with Calais Campbell there for, those two played together at Jacksonville that year where they were known as Saxonville. So it makes the Ravens look a little bit more scary.
Keep going.
Yep.
Did the Ravens have the bye last week?
Yeah, they didn't play.
Okay, so I'll add my note about Des Bryant has signed with them too.
Yeah.
So he's, I think, on their practice squad and practicing, but you'd think you'd want to get him in. He looks good from what I've seen in the videos.
Yeah, that one-handed catch.
Yeah. You think, of course, he was going to play with New Orleans last year and then did his Achilles. So coming back from that injury, but he looks good and the Ravens could really do with a receiver.
Yeah,
I think some real talent out there.
Well, the last year that Lamar Jackson won the MVP and they looked unstoppable on offense, their receivers were 32 out of 32 teams for combined yards.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the tight ends were probably one, but
yeah, I'd say Andrews and Boyle, pretty good tight end combination.
Yeah.
But yeah, Big Des, if he can suit up for them in the next few weeks, really adds Another factor for the Ravens, who, despite their pretty good record, have looked a little bit lackluster compared to the Ravens that we knew last year.
So round out Sunday for footy, we had Arizona beating out Seattle, serving them their first loss for the season in overtime.
Yeah.
This was a game.
Great game. Whew. Had some big moments. The Russell Wilson pick, the DK then makes up 8 yards, I think, on Buddha Baker, who
if not more.
And tackles him at about the 10, I think it was.
Massive heads up. Don't give up play. And then the Cardinals opted to go for it on fourth down. It was
a turnover, wasn't it?
In the coming series, and they turned the ball over on downs. So not only did he just save the 4 points if they kicked the field goal, he saved 7 points there.
Yeah.
And a bunch of memes and sort of been, in the internet and sporting culture this week. But that DK, oh my goodness. To be his size and be that quick, he's so scary.
I think he got robbed in overtime as well on the ticky-tacky kind of holding penalty. It was very kind of minor. I don't think it impacts that play at all. DK runs, 60, mows down 2 guys on the way and then scores a touchdown. Would have won the game.
Yep. This is probably the best game of the year so far, I think, in terms of entertainment.
I thought the Seahawks would be better, but the Cards just managed to stay in there. And got a few turnovers.
I think that was the difference.
Yeah, so Wilson
picking Russ off for 3 times. He'd been picked off once this year or twice.
Bit of a down game for him.
Yeah, he still had 388 yards. And Tyler Lockett, as we mentioned before, Devontae Adams had 13 for 196 and 2. Anything you can do, I can do better. Tyler Lockett goes for 15 receptions, 200 yards, 3 touchdowns, 52 fantasy points, if you don't mind. It's about pretty close to what my team got this year, this week, I should say. Unbelievable effort in a losing team. He had 20 targets.
I think that probably then led to some of Russell Wilson's picks because he was very much targeting Tyler. I don't want to say forcing it to him, but with Patrick Peterson taking DK out of the game, I think he had 4 targets for 2 catches for his massive run at the overtime, which was called back.
What about Kyler? This is probably his breakout game, you'd say?
Definitely.
360 passing yards, 3 touchdowns and a pick, as well as 67 on the ground and a touchdown. He
got Hopkins involved in the game. Hopkins had a big game.
Nuke had a big game, 10 for 103 and a touchdown. Kyler has 7 rushing touchdowns, I think. So the most by a quarterback ever in a season is Cam, the MVP year. He had 14. So Kyler is on track to possibly reach that.
He's good.
Crazy mark.
Battle of the short quarterbacks, but it was a good game.
Yeah, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Monday night?
Rounding out the week, we had LA Rams beating Chicago 24-10.
So there was over 1,000 yards of offense in that game too, by the way.
1,000 yards of offense. It's like Madden when you just turn all the settings down and just go from that. It was so fun to watch. Really good viewing.
Sorry, that was just my last note from that game.
The Bears look pretty doo-doo in this game.
Who did they play again?
Rams. And Big Dig Nick turned the ball over twice. David Montgomery never has a big game. He had 14 for 48. He doesn't have that X factor, I don't think.
And the Rams would just look solid.
Yeah, the Rams look good. Goff didn't turn the ball over. He had 220 for 2. Again, they split the work in the backfield between Darrell Henderson and Malcolm Brown.
Yep.
The Bears' defense is the Bears' defense. They kept their, really big name receivers like Cup and Woods pretty quiet, but then guys like Josh Reynolds and Johnny Munt had a bit of a...
Yeah, Josh Reynolds had a big game.
Yeah, a bit of a breakout. Rams go to 5-2.
And the Bears...
they also fall to 5-2.
Yeah.
Not the most entertaining game on a Monday night, but 2 teams that you'd expect to both make the playoffs, given their records.
At this rate, yeah. Both probably leaning heavily on their defenses, both teams. Rams do have a good defense, of course. Led by a big dude up front. Big-ish dude up front.
Yeah, what's his name? Donald Aaron or something?
Yeah. 2-time defensive player of the year.
He's pretty good. Yeah. He played his 100th game, I think I saw. He's got 80 sacks in 100 games.
Yeah. I think he got 2 sacks in this game, didn't he?
He did, I think, yeah. Which, considering he normally lines up in the middle, is out.
It's unreal. Unreal for a defensive tackle.
Yeah, that's it.
Now we'll round out the week for the NFL.
Yeah.
Yeah, do you want to talk about a little bit of Corona or?
Well, so leading into round 8, the current Corona status is both the Vikings and Broncos have had players test positive. So I know for the Broncos it was their guard, Glasgow. And so he's now self-isolating, of course, and then 2 close contacts of his from the team is self-isolating. They haven't named who they are, but I'm assuming it's some of their offensive linemen.
Yeah.
And hopefully not all their interior offensive linemen, because that could be bad for Denver.
Yeah, could be.
Cushenberry and Reisner being out will very much kill any chances Denver has in this game against the Chargers. But I assume they'll test the shit out of them leading up to it.
Hate to be the quarterback when you're starting 3 interior linemen are out.
Yeah, and for Vikings, it's a former Denver player, so Todd Davis tests positive for them, so they're inside linebacker. At the moment, both games are still as scheduled. They haven't planned to move them.
Not as scary, I suppose, as when the Titans a few weeks ago had 8 players, 20 total positives, you know, 1 or 2 guys here and there.
So it looks like their regulations are working. It's cutting the numbers down. It looks like it's, you know, it's the odd guy that's getting it, and they're getting it, picking it up very quickly. So they can manage it and not impact how the games are played. So
for sure.
So here we go. But that leads into week 8, and we talked a little bit about the Falcons winning against the Panthers. Didn't end up blowing their lead when they thought that
it looked like it was going to happen again. It
went
really
close.
did look like it was going to happen again.
Teddy got hurt he got tripped. Well, it was a penalty for tripping. He went down.
Yeah, it was a trip.
It was a trip.
But then the 2 inside linebackers, I think, dived on him, and one of them got up around the neck head area, bent his neck all back. So he went off for a while, got checked out, but then came back. But they ended up winning that game.
Calvin Ridley left the game, hurt.
Ankle injury, I think, for him. So I'm not sure where his status is at the moment. I haven't seen any updates yet for him. But Julio had a big game.
Big game.
Thank you, Julio.
37 yards.
Swingers Club and Pepsi, thank you.
Todd Gurley kind of disappeared in the second quarter, and he came back midway through the third. They went with Hill.
Brian Hill had a lot of carries. Gurley ended up with a touchdown.
He still scored a touchdown,
Yeah, it might have just been a bit of a bump. It seems I haven't heard any long-term injury news on Gurley.
On whether because he didn't fumble or anything, so whether it was just he wasn't doing overly well.
Yeah.
He was getting about average of 2 yards, if that. So whether they sat him down to kickstart him a little bit, but Hill looked good in his replacement, so he did add something to the team. So
nothing wrong with that Falcons offense.
No. Again, they can score points. It's whether their defense can keep them in it.
Yeah. And that rounds out the week in the NFL.
Yep. So preview.
So
what's Sunday's games?
Next week.
Let's run.
We're going to have to go through this quick because we have been waffling.
All right. So we've got New England at Buffalo.
Buffalo.
Yep. And then we've got Tennessee at Cincinnati.
Tennessee.
Yep. But not to be blown out. I think the Bengals are improved.
Yeah, they're getting better.
Yeah, okay.
Let's watch Burrow improve.
Yep. And then we've got Las Vegas at Cleveland.
This is an interesting game.
Rams, that is.
Vegas.
No, sorry, Vegas. I did the same thing with LA.
Oh, that's both of you.
That's Raiders.
Where do the Raiders play? Where do they play?
I'm going to go Rams.
This is an interesting game. I'm going to go, Raiders. Is that what you meant? It's Raiders and Browns.
I fucked it again.
I'm going to go Cleveland. I think Cleveland, whilst they've only really been beating
I've changed
average teams,
I don't think Cleveland's for real, so I'm going to go Raiders.
Yeah, interesting game, however.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Should be close.
Yeah, I'd like the Raiders, but it'd be very interesting to see Cleveland win.
Okay. Cleveland wins. Josh Jacobs has 48 fantasy points. Thanks.
That's a big day.
So after that, we've got the Colts at the Lions.
Colts.
Ooh, interesting one.
Colts defense is nice.
I think Colts need to win this game again to keep proving they are for real with their record at the moment.
Yeah. And then after that, we have the Vikings at Green Bay.
Go, Pack, go.
Yep.
Green Bay probably by a big score, I reckon. I don't like the Vikes' chances.
Yeah, the Vikes defense doesn't seem to be that same Vikes defense that we've known over the last few years. Yeah, I think the Packers win this comfortably.
That's it.
Maybe a game for overs if the Vikings... I think they'll be trailing and they'll be chasing whether they can score some points. Hopefully to Justin Jefferson.
Speaking of big points, we should hopefully expect that out of Kansas City with the New York Jets.
Out of one side,
One side, yeah.
on Sportsbet, the Chiefs are $1.02. Jets are about 13s. Pretty rare to see that in an NFL game.
Yeah.
You think Chiefs
Chiefs
by a bit, and probably possibly half their team sitting in the
Second half?
Yeah. Might be a bit like a preseason
That
game.
was what I was going to say. I think
right.
Patty Mahomes probably sits the second half.
Yeah, just get out to a bit of a lead, and I think it's a bit of a chance for their backup receivers. Maybe Lev Bell gets a bit of a run.
Yeah.
Who's their backup quarterback? Jordan?
No, Henny.
Henny?
Yeah.
They drafted that Jordan Tamu as well, but...
Because he played like the last drive against Denver.
So maybe Henny runs the offense for the second half or last quarter.
Well, imagine if Bell had a day against the Jets.
That's a big old fuck you, isn't it?
Yeah.
That's a big fuck.
Revenge game, of course, is going to have a big day.
Of course, yeah. So after that game, we've got LA Rams at Miami.
Ooh, Tua's first game.
Yeah,
Tua's
that's
first
big
game. Actually,
news.
yeah, we haven't talked about that yet, have we?
Fitzmagic.
Well, we talked a little bit about it in last
Yeah.
week because it was their bye week last week.
Yep.
How Tua's going to go, it'd be interesting to see because he's not very much the athletic quarterback that, say, that Kyler is. He's more of a pocket passer. I don't know. I'm going to go Rams. I think Rams are on a bit of a tear at the moment.
And Tua hasn't played any football since that horrific hip injury. So, yeah.
And like you were saying before, Aaron Donald that's a tough game to
It is.
start on.
It is.
Yeah. I still don't know why they're sitting Fitzpatrick, but anyway.
Yeah.
Feel
They're-
sorry for
they're-
him. And he expressed his
They're at evens at the moment.
they are 3-3. And with the Patriots not being the Patriots that we all seem used to, are a chance of playing playoff football this year. I like the Rams here.
Yeah, pick the Rams.
Yeah. So after that, we've got Pittsburgh at Baltimore.
Ooh, this is going to
Should
be a
be
good
very close. game.
Cracker. This is the game of the round.
game.
Yeah.
Defense versus Lamar.
I'm going Steelers. I don't know if the Ravens... I think they're having a little bit of a hangover from last year. They are 5-1, mind you, but I don't know if they've really beaten that many quality teams. They got made to look very ordinary by the Chiefs in their loss. And
True.
of late, they've sort of struggled to beat the Eagles. They've... what was it?
If Big Ben doesn't turn the ball over, I think the Ravens win.
Yeah, so they...
The Steelers win, sorry.
Yeah,
but I could see the Ravens winning if they turn the ball over. Sorry, that's what I meant.
Yep.
So
I'm with you there.
they've beat the Browns, they beat the Texans, they beat Washington, and Bengals, Eagles.
So that's no one really good there.
Yeah. This is a true test for them. They need to win this game to
Indeed.
prove where they are in the AFC. Steelers still unbeaten, of course.
Yes.
So see if they can keep rolling. But yeah, mate, I'll back you for the Steelers. I think they can win this.
Yep. Yeah. So we already mentioned Chargers at Denver.
Go Denver.
This should be a reasonably entertaining game.
As long as it's not snowing, like it was in Denver last week.
True.
I assume they're in LA for this one.
I think it's at Denver.
No, Denver.
If it's Denver, so it could be another snowy game, which probably plays a little bit into Denver's hands.
And unders.
I'd say unders. For this
Unders.
game. If it's snowing again, definitely go unders.
Wake up, check the weather at 4 a.m. and put your bet on.
So after that, we have New Orleans in Chicago.
This is a good game. One of the better offenses. They have been a little bit quiet this year, but one of the better offenses of the last 5 years.
Again, Mike Thomas out, so...
Yeah. Hard to pick. I'm going to go Saints. I think I don't...
Yeah, Bears are average last week. I think the Saints.
And the Saints, we're all thinking about the battle between the Bears defense and the Saints offense. The Saints defense is good.
Yeah,
And the Bears offense is horrendous. So maybe a defensive touchdown or Saints D if you got them in fantasy.
I'm going to go Saints.
Yep. Saints. So after that, probably a pretty important game. We've got San Fran at Seattle.
Massive game in the NFC West here.
Yeah.
Seahawks coming off their first loss of the year, whereas the 49ers smacked the Patriots.
Yep. I think Seahawks are too good for them.
I also agree. Close.
I think they've got too much talent.
Close-ish,
Seahawks are
close-ish
at
game,
home
though.
as well.
Yeah. Closest game, but I think Seahawks in a bounce back after losing the Cards.
Russ's record against the Niners is pretty impressive, 13-4.
Wow.
It wouldn't surprise me if a couple of those losses were when Colin was there. Kaepernick.
Yeah, I'd imagine so.
Very early days. So to round out Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
we might call
this
the toilet bowl.
Sunday night toilet bowl. I suppose in terms of its relevance,
it's big time
yeah,
relevance.
it's
Big time
a massive
relevance.
game.
Yeah.
Cowboys and Eagles.
In
I'm
Philly.
going Eagles.
I'm going Eagles too. The Cowboys look
have
horrendous.
to.
Their defense is shit house, and definitely not the same team since poor Dak had that nasty injury.
Yeah. And then round out week 8, we've got Tampa Bay at New York Giants.
Big week for Brady and that stellar Bucks offense that we were talking about.
Should smash them.
Yeah, I think they put up 40 here. Bucks by a bit.
Yep.
And that is the week in the NFL.
That is. Before we moved on, I did want to mention, so Kyler Murray, he's ranked 11 for rushing yards. It drops off pretty quick, but...
For quarterbacks or in overall?
No.
He's
Overall.
11th for rushing yards.
Overall,
I'll just clarify.
Yeah.
At 437 yards, obviously the 7 touchdowns. Ranked number 2 for averaging, only after Lamar Jackson.
In yards per carry.
Yards per carry, yeah.
Very
good.
Passing stats there.
Yeah, I can bring them up.
Is there an argument for Kyler being in the MVP?
He started off slow passing, though. He had a couple games where he was just 150 odd yards.
Based on that, he's got to be in the conversation.
Yeah. So I don't think he's thrown
obviously, Russ and Aaron Rodgers have had huge starts to the year.
So he hasn't thrown as many touchdowns. But if he keeps his form going from this Seahawks game, he should be in that conversation, definitely.
Yeah, so he's thrown 13 touchdowns, 7 interceptions for 1,847 yards.
So not many yards in that, fair few picks, but 13 touchdowns in 7 games isn't bad at all.
Plus the 7 rushing, so he's up to 20 in total.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He'd be in the conversation.
Possibly, yeah. So
Okay.
Matt Ryan's now leading passing stats.
Passing yards,
With a game in hand.
Yeah.
It wouldn't surprise me if he ends up winning, though. Just the amount of points they've got to make up and the amount they have to throw away.
Well, he's 400 yards clear of Deshaun Watson.
Yeah, again, a game in hand.
Third. Yep. No, he's only played 7 games, so... Sorry, yeah.
Yeah.
So there's 400 yards that everyone else has to catch up on.
Very good. Thank you. Pepe's going to do a wee. So we'll move in. So we'll move into the F1. So the big news leading up to the race on the weekend was the Haas team has announced they're going to cut their drivers in Magnussen and
Roman Grosjean.
Yep.
Clearing house for 2021.
Mm-hmm. And so there is some chat about Mike Schumacher, getting a seat for his first drive in F1.
Yep. Grosjean, I can probably understand.
Surprisingly, Grosjean's getting up there. I think he's had 9 years in the top league, so he's in his mid-30s. I think now he's 31 or 32.
Yeah, and Grosjean and Magnussen have been the only drivers for Haas, so I suppose, it's a...
But probably not the future F1 is the best way to say it, compared to if you could get Mike Schumacher in there as a comparison.
Yeah, well... Even on that, definitely smart move to get a F1 seat for Mike, but is it the best opportunity to get into
definitely not
F1?
But it's probably the best opportunity for him, even if he has, the car overly is not great, but if he has some good results next year, you can see the potential. So then when... your Ferrari and your Mercedes and your Red Bull, following year you might go, Albon's not doing anything for us, let's put him in here. Or Bottas retires and Hamilton's like, I need a co-driver. Well, then if you got Schumacher's like, hey, he's finishing in the top 10 or he's finishing at that 10 range with the Haas car. You'd be like, well, shit, he's doing well with the crap car. Let's give him an opportunity with a good car.
True. That is interesting, though, because I don't know how the politics would play into that, because I know...
He probably wants to go to Ferrari, let's be honest.
He'd want to go to Ferrari. Ferrari's, you'd think's pretty short up with Leclerc and Sainz for the next couple of years.
Yeah, at least for a couple of years.
For Mercedes...
Well, you never know. Like, next year, Sainz might have a poor year.
True.
In the Vettel car, and I'm like, let's move him on and we'll put Schumacher in there. It's a way bigger marketing thing for them than Sainz is.
Yeah. The logical choice is definitely Ferrari long term. With Mercedes, whatever happens with Bottas, I think Hamilton is not going to talk contracts until after they've shored up the constructors and driver championship. But I think
he's still got like another 4 years in the in the top grade.
Definitely. I think for Mercedes, I think the next logical choice would probably be someone like a George Russell. He's definitely got history with the team. So I just don't know what opportunities Mark Schumacher will have.
Well, there's possibility of Renault maybe. Because with Dan moving on and
well, they've signed Alonso back up.
Yeah. So, but again, Alonso's not the future F1, so we're not talking next year, of course. We're talking
definitely long term.
Yeah. So, it's of course it's not the best opportunity for him now, but it's the best opportunity to get in to show his potential. Where it could be, you aim for those top three. Ferrari probably being the obvious choice.
Yeah.
But then you got Renault and McLaren as the next two, and depending on how they go, whether he can fit in there, whether McLaren. Because they've got Lando Norris and Ricciardo. You'd probably say they probably want to keep that together for a couple of years. But Ricciardo could be the odd one out there, being the older one.
Yeah.
Only being, I think he'd be 32. We're probably talking about he'd be 33 by then.
Yeah, especially if Norris
keeps progressing. Yeah. I don't know, Racing Point, maybe they sneak up in the next year or two, but unlikely. It all really depends on with the new regulations. Because again, after 21, they got all the new regulations in, so everything could change.
They do.
So,
which will also potentially affect Red Bull a fair bit in terms of engines.
Yep.
And where they're going, in the direction they're going with that. So
what's the news on the Red Bull engines status?
So obviously with Honda deciding to move out of Formula One, looking for a more sustainable sort of, I guess, marketing strategy. Red Bull has said that they don't particularly want to go with Renault.
That will go back to Renault, of course.
Of course. And I think mutually Red Bull and Ferrari, Mercedes understand that they don't want to be getting the engine and don't want to be providing the engine because...
Exactly. They want the competition there. They're the top three.
Yeah. And so Red Bull would very much like to take over all of the IP for Honda engines and keep
so
racing
Formula One
Honda
engines we're talking about, not the rest of their production stuff.
That's it, yeah. So, but on the proviso that with the new regulations come in, there's a freeze, I guess, on all engine development.
Interesting ploy by Red Bull.
Yeah, I mean... And it's
going to be a huge cost for them to take it on.
Huge cost. And that's why they want to have a freeze on that development because they just don't have the budget.
They wouldn't be able to compete. But then Mercedes...
And there's going to be salary caps or there's going to be caps on R&D spends as well. Yeah. So,
but compared to Mercedes who have that massive building, I think is it in England or Germany? I can't remember. But they got the massive Mercedes building where they do all the development for the race car, for the F1 and the car. They're like... That's it. So what, you're going to say that we now can't, we've got a cap, the cap's coming in, but we now can't spend and actually do work in our thing. We can't improve our product.
Interesting, yeah. It's good for competition though, because obviously you've got those three of Ferrari.
So you got to remember Mercedes is supplying 4 teams, well, their team plus 3 others.
Exactly, yeah.
So the freeze impacts more than just them. But I guess that's why they may be suggesting it as... Well, it levels the playing field across the the championship.
Toto Wolff, the principal for Mercedes, to his credit, has fully supported the freeze as well. Like he understands that from a competition perspective, from the overall sports perspective, they need this to happen. So
he's probably overly confident in his package anyway that he's maybe not too worried about it.
Definitely.
But for a year left to run on that, how the current regulation goes. Yeah, maybe it makes sense. Maybe you can make competitive for a year before they change everything for the 22 season.
Yeah, that's it. So, it'll be interesting times ahead if you're an F1 fan.
So the race this week the race last week on the weekend, where were they? And
so we were in Portugal. Obviously, the Mercedes were up top with Hamilton breaking the record for most wins at 92 wins.
Yep.
Bottas came second and Verstappen came in at third.
Yeah. So you think Portugal nice and warm, but no, it was cold and wet.
Yep.
So the race started off very much cold tyres and a lot of jostling, a lot of moving, a lot of overtakes in the first 15 laps.
Raikkonen was able to work his way up the field.
Mm-hmm. I think he made
that first lap.
12 positions or something.
Yeah.
8 on the first, I think, and then overall he made 12. But then it kind of normalised itself. The cars dried the track up and the rain went away. So the guys were struggling with cold tyres and struggling with the mediums very much at the start, and then the hard tyre as well. Kind of struggled with that. Got into their race, and then Hamilton got out front, took Bottas over, and away they went, and off they go, and that's how they finished the race. The last 40 laps kind of were business as usual.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
So they got is it a bye? No, they got a race this week.
Yep. Yeah, they got a race this week. So back to Italy.
Still in Europe.
First race in a while at Imola. So going back to there. I can't remember when they raced there last, but hasn't been on the schedule.
I will say the Portugal circuit was a very nice one. Very fast pace circuit. So, yeah.
A very technical one as well. I was listening in because it's very flat and they don't have too many trees or landmarks around the circuit. It's very hard for the drivers to sort of pick where their braking points and stuff are. So
big run-off areas with gravel traps.
That's it. Yeah. So next week in Italy, change up to race weekend. So it's only a 2-day weekend.
Oh, okay.
So they didn't have
they're doing
practice on Friday.
They're doing everything today, are they?
Yep. So they have a practice session on the Saturday, leading into qualifying.
That'd be starting soon, wouldn't it?
Quite possibly, yeah. And then race on Sunday. So interesting to see how that affects the field. Obviously, not having as many laps under your belt might make it a little bit more competitive in that midfield.
Possibly, but you'd say Hamilton's still a favourite.
The fight's definitely going to be in the midfield.
Yeah. How far away is he from clinching it?
That's a very good question.
Because I think the assumption is that both he and the Mercedes team will win the championships.
Mercedes can win the championship this weekend.
Yep. With another one too.
Yep.
Hamilton's got to be close.
Driver standings.
He's well in front. I know that much, but it's whether he can. How long it'll take him to actually clinch another championship. But he's well on his way. It's probably the best way to say.
Very much so. So he's what's that? About 80 points ahead of Bottas. So if he can keep coming in 1-2s, he's got it wrapped up.
Yep.
That probably does it for F1 for this week.
Yep. That's F1. Go Dan. Good luck to the Aussies.
Yep.
We'll see how they go. He had a pretty poor race last week. It's probably the finish it off. Just couldn't get the tyres to work for him, and I think he finished 10th or 9th. He was down the order. Then he's finishing third the previous race.
Yep. Yeah, that's it.
Yeah. All right, moving on. We'll jump back into the Yankee sports. The World Series. So I think we got up to game 3 on the last podcast. So game 3 was 6-2 to the Dodgers. Game 4 went to the Rays at 8-7. Game 5 went to the Dodgers at 4-2, which then gave them the series lead at 3-2. Then they won. Sorry. No, that was
no, 3-2. Apologies.
Yeah. My quick mash was good this time.
Apologies.
So Dodgers go into game 6 looking to clinch and win. Which they did. They win the series 4-2. They beat the Rays. Interesting in this game for the LA Dodgers was their third baseman, Justin Turner, test positive for Rona during the game. So obviously they must have done a pre-game test. He tested final week and then pre-game test. They run away to the test and then it turns positive. So they pull him in the 8th innings. So he goes off. Then I think he turns back up later in in the game, and he's wearing a mask, of course. When the Dodgers win, though, he's definitely there. He's there celebrating with his teammates, celebrating with his family. Not a great look, but I guess if you win the World Series, you want to be in there and around the boys, even if you've got the Rona. I haven't seen any reports if anyone else has caught it from him since then.
Get it.
But yeah, you'd say you'd assume a few of them have picked it up since then.
You'd take a bit of Rona for a World Series, wouldn't you?
Yeah, I'd say so. But the Dodgers do it in a pretty competitive series. A lot of runs, home runs scored, which was good to see. I don't think they had any fans for any of these games, unfortunately.
No, they had a limited. So
Limited?
yeah, so it was like 10 or 11,000 in. It was all in I think in the Texas Rangers home field, which seats about 60, I think.
But probably not a huge amount of fans in Texas for LA or Tampa Bay.
I think there'd be Dodgers fans everywhere.
There'd be Dodgers fans,
yes.
Yeah. And from what I saw, most of the crowd, were Dodgers. Were wearing Dodgers gear. But LA win that, so they win. They were the first seed, and when did they won a couple of years ago as well, didn't they?
Yeah, I can't remember off the top of my head.
Neither. I remember that was them breaking their long-term drought.
Yes,
a couple of years ago, but they've now won another one, which goes with the LA Lakers. So they've won 2 of the 4 major sports this year.
Yeah,
as we were saying earlier.
Corey Seager got the MVP for the series for the Dodgers.
Yep.
And yeah, baseball is obviously our strong suit. But we might need to work on a bit of baseball for the upcoming season next year.
But we thought we'd report on it. It's the best thing.
Well,
it's the World Series. So.
It's pretty big news, obviously. Yeah. And,
so the last time they won the World Series was in 1988.
So they didn't win a few years ago.
Oh, I thought they went close a few years ago. I remember.
Angels, maybe. Maybe the other LA team.
Maybe. Yeah, that could be it.
Anyways, for all our dedicated baseball fans that listen to On
apologise.
The Esky, we will improve on this aspect of our coverage for next season.
So moving quickly onto the rugby. So Australia have played New Zealand tonight for Bledisloe. For the Bledisloe Cup, so in the 4-match series.
Must
win, and they have to win the next 2 if they want to win it. The next 2 games, of course, being in Australia, this one in Sydney. James O'Connor, though, unfortunately, has been ruled out for the game. I don't like their chances, honestly.
Hard to win both.
If
they win tonight, then that puts the pressure on the All Blacks, you'd think.
Need a good showing. They are, of course, supporting Indigenous Australians through this, wearing an Indigenous jersey.
That'll be interesting to see.
So the jersey looks pretty cool. It's better than some of the other Indigenous jerseys you've seen in the past.
They're a bit hit and miss. Well, I'm obviously going off more of the Rugby League and AFL ones, but I'm a bit of a fan of a few of the ones.
Yeah.
Who knows the last time that the Wallabies won the Bledisloe Cup?
I think we looked this up. It was 98 or 99, I think.
2002.
2002, okay.
It's a long time.
Long time.
17 years.
So need to win, can't draw. If they want to get the cup, if they draw, of course, then New Zealand will retain.
I might even watch it.
Yeah. Well, there's nothing else on tonight. So.
No, not much at all.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll finish up with the UFC. So the UFC had its big card of the week last week at UFC 254. The Australian Bam Bam got a win. He was actually on the undercard versus Struve. As expected, it didn't get out of the first round. Stefan's got a bit of a glass chin, so Bam
tall
Bam,
person thing, I think.
Speaking from experience? Or?
So Bam Bam gets a win, which is his first fight, I think, since he lost to Dos Santos, which we saw when we went to Adelaide. So that's impressive for him. That's a big layoff because that was early 2019, or it was late. No, it was November 2018, wasn't it? So that's a big layoff for him.
Possibly. Yeah.
So, of course, the big fights in the UFC. Do you have the top 3 fights in that, James?
Yep. So first we had a heavyweight fight between Alexander Volkov against Walt Harris.
Yep.
Volkov got the TKO in the second round.
Yep. So Volkov continuing his kind of push towards.
He's ascending, isn't he?
He's ascending. I think because he lost to the skates Rosenstrike. In a fight he was clearly winning as well. So he's in that top 5 at the moment and trying to push in into that discussion with Nagano and Stipe. So Rosenstrike, of course, losing to Nagano, I think, after that in a firefight, which Nagano, you don't want to get in a firefight with Nagano.
Oh, God, no. You don't want to get in any fight with Francis Ngannou.
I don't want to look him in the wrong way.
I'd say, yes, sir, I'll get your next drink, sir.
Yeah. So he's moving up towards the top of that heavyweight division. Again, with John Jones floating out there, maybe that's a good one for John Jones to come into because it would definitely be a stand-up battle.
Have you seen him in the gym, John Jones? He's starting to put that size on.
Yeah.
Pretty much, I think all he's doing is deadlifting and squatting.
Oh, all he's got to do is some bodybuilding and need to be huge.
Yeah,
just bulk out those legs and to match the rest of his body.
Yeah, it looks like.
If his brother's genes or anything to go by, he can definitely put size on.
Indeed. Well, from what I've seen in the last few days, he does look like a bigger version of the John Jones that we all know.
Yeah, which probably kills the Israel fight because I don't think he's going to put on size to then lose size.
No. Why would you if you're Izzy? Yeah.
Yeah, that doesn't make sense.
So the co-main?
Our boy Robert Whittaker.
Gets the win over Jared.
Yep, beating Jared Cannonier by decision.
Yep.
It's a good fight. Robert very much, I'd say, dominated all 3 rounds. I think all the judges gave 1 round to Jared, but from my perspective, I thought Robert very much pieced him up. His jab was very impressive, and then he started adding in, following back his jab, and then the combination that kind of knocked Jared down, I think, in the start of the 3rd round, was a jab straight head kick, which could have actually ended the fight because Jared kind of face plants a little bit after that. But
he got him pretty clean.
Yeah, he got him clean. But credit to Jared Cannonier, he fought through it and came back, and then lands a big shot late on Robert, which wobbled Robert. But
that's a tongue twister.
Yeah,
say it 10 times.
Yeah, but Whittaker kept fighting through it. I'm a little bit worried about Robert's chin going forward because he's definitely been in some walls and taken some shots. But he sounded really good after the fight. They asked him what he wanted to do after that, and he said, "I'm just going to go home and spend Christmas with the kids," because of course he's been away. Because this was at Fight Island.
Yep.
So he's been away for a couple of months, focusing on this. But the question very much was in line with what the future holds, because Israel had said if Jared had beat Robert and won well, that he was in line for that title fight. So with Robert winning, Costa and Romero, I think, so Robert's 1.
Yep.
Costa's 2 and Romero's 3. And
Romero is actually down to 5.
Five.
So
Really?
we've got Cannonier's 3 and Jack Hermanson.
Yeah, Hermanson's coming up.
It's a stacked division with Romero at 5.
Yeah, but Israel, of course, beating 3 of those guys.
Maybe Hermanson gets the crack then at Israel.
Well, that's why I think he was saying Jared, but now with Robert winning and he's still 1 and he's on a win, that rematch could be possible.
Would love to see that.
Which would be great. I don't think it's going to happen in Australia at this point, but just because of our restrictions, so they don't want to bring it over here and have to do that. But that'd be great for Israel being out of New Zealand and Robert, of course, fighting out of Australia.
Another Bledisloe Cup we can lose.
Yeah, but maybe in 6 months, middle of next year or first quarter, maybe around that April. Hopefully things have started opening up, and maybe they could then book that fight here for Australia. But I don't know what Israel's going to do. Because there's no one really else coming through. He could move up to 205, maybe.
I was going to say, does he move up to light heavyweight?
Yeah, but
he's so lean as a middleweight. Obviously, he's got that height.
A fight against Jones makes sense at that weight, but I don't want. You wouldn't want Izzy to fight someone like Jan, who's a big power puncher. He's the champion at the moment. Who's got his massive size. Like, it's a big jump. It's 20 pounds. Like, it's huge.
I don't think it goes up. Like, he's got the frame where he could, but the way he fights,
he could add size, but
yeah. And he likes to talk shit. I'd like to see him talk shit against Yarnos. one of those big light heavyweight boys. All hats off to Izzy. I love watching him fight, but I don't think he goes up.
No. So it's whether he sits and waits now, Robert's the next one, or maybe Hope's one of those guys that are 6 or 7.
Yeah.
Blows a dude out, and then they're like, okay, cool. Then they fight someone like Costa or Romero, and then they're ready. But I don't think we're talking anything soon. We're probably talking 6 months away, middle of next year.
I just sit there and just clean out every single motherfucker in that division, and then you can start talking about fighting John. You don't have to prove yourself and go up and fight the best MMA fighter of all time, at a weight which obviously suits John a lot more than it suits Israel. Yeah. I think he just sits there and just keep winning.
Yep. Yeah. Build that legacy very much how Anderson Silva and GSP did. You just beat every challenger that comes to you.
Yeah. Really cementing yourself. And not to say he hasn't cemented himself, but he could go down as one of the great middleweights if he just keeps sitting there and winning fights.
Yeah. We'll come to talk about pound for pound in a minute. Yeah. Because I guess we'll go with the main... The headliner.
Just on Israel and middleweight. So after YOLO at 5, we've got Darren Till, Derek Bronson, Kevin Gastelum, Chris Weidman, Uriah Hall. Yeah. So
Weidman and Hall's probably towards the end of their careers.
Yeah. And both...
There's not many fights there that Israel would necessarily need to tick off.
No.
And Till's only just coming up now.
Yeah, maybe he gets better.
And he lost to Robert, so Robert beat him, I think. So that sounds about right. Because Till came up from 170 and lost to Robert. Weidman, on the end of his career, he went up to 205, got knocked out, and so still floating around in the rankings. So I don't think there's much coming through those division. It's still top heavy. Like any fight by those guys in the top 5 is going to be awesome. But he's beating all those guys at the moment, so it's... Yeah, it's very much up in the air about what he's going to do going forward.
That's it.
All right, let's talk about this headliner.
So the big main event, we had Khabib up against Justin Gaethje. Could it have gone any other way, I guess?
No, made it into the second round, but
Khabib's wrestling.
Took over. Gaethje really couldn't get anything off. I think Gaethje was attacking their leg, trying to slow him down, but he couldn't get any of his punches going. Khabib actually looked really good on the feet, but as soon as he took him down late in the first, couldn't get the stoppage, but then he took him down in the second and got the win. Yeah,
real masterclass. So I'm just having a look at stats here. So Khabib had 26 of 80 total strikes compared to Justin's 29 of 46. Obviously two out of 3 takedowns versus none for Gaethje, and the one submission attempt. So really just controlled the fight right from the start.
Gaethje, of course, has a background a little bit in wrestling. Like he did wrestle, I think, Div 1 and NCAA. I don't think he was a champion or anything like that, but he was definitely up there. But just shows on a different level that Khabib is. Just tore him apart, and again, with anyone he's fought, he's just beaten them, grounded them out. He's just such a good wrestler.
It never really looked like losing a fight.
No. Well, he wins this, and that takes him to 29-0.
Yep.
Yeah, and same result. Beat him same way. Take him down, beat him up. Either submit him or ground and pound him out.
Yep. So then, after the fight, he puts his gloves down in the middle of the ring, retires.
Yep.
Says he made a promise to his mum that he's not going to fight after his dad passed away earlier this year.
So, the first fight without his dad in his corner.
Yep.
And like you say, he promised his mum and said, I'm not going to not fight again without him around. And so, he talked a lot about how different it was and not having him around, how different it felt. But, to lose a superstar like him, I think he's 34, so he's still up there.
He's older than you'd think.
He's older than you think. I think he came late, very much into the UFC picture, but just absolutely dominated. Cleaned out that division. He's beaten everyone that he could beat in that division. It's unquestionable that he'll go down as one of the best lightweights of all time.
Yeah,
definitely.
Yeah, an absolute masterclass as a wrestler as well. No one even came close.
And you'd feel like it's a pretty genuine retirement as well. When you've made promises, family, ties like that. It's
based on where he comes from, his culture, and his relationships.
It doesn't seem like the guy that is just a publicity retirement. That he'll be back in 6 months. Would love to see him fight again.
I mean, if that GSP fight
that's the only
ever
one
eventuates,
and if the money is there, but Khabib seems to me like a very disciplined, man of his word type guy.
Yep.
And very strong in his faith. So
quite an emotional retirement as well. That might be the last that we've ever seen. Probably is.
Yeah. So the final thing he asked for at the end of the fight was he wanted to be pound for pound number one. So to get the top ranking, that's all he asked for.
I'm looking at the rankings, and he is now number one.
Yeah.
He bumped.
So
John Jones.
They did give it to him. John Jones, on the other hand, was very much just like he wasn't buying it. No. And he definitely has a big claim to it. He was like, well, I got 15 title defenses. You've got 4.
I've never lost. He's lost that one on a disqualification.
Yeah. Lost one on the disqualification. Never lost 2 non-contests, drug-related, of course, with the old peptides. But yeah, it's hard to make an argument. Again, you're looking at records and who they've beaten, and how long and stuff like that. You could make a case for Khabib. I don't want to say I'm in Jones's camp, but I think Jones is probably still pound for pound number one, especially if he goes up to heavyweight and he continues his dominance.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you there, Sean. I suppose the only thing Khabib's got here is, the little asterisk against John Jones's name with those no contests and that disqualification. His record finishes 29-0.
Yeah.
Never been beaten.
And beat the who's who of that division.
Yeah.
John Jones, of course, I think still comes back and still won his belt back 3 times.
The title defences.
Yeah, and the title defences. He's beat the who's who in that division. And if he moves up, but, maybe Khabib has it for a couple of months. Yeah. John Jones moves up, beat whoever he beats at a heavyweight, and then he's back in that one spot. So
absolutely no disrespect to Khabib, but for me, Jones.
Yeah. And the interesting with Jones, he's still very young. He's still got a long time in the sport. So.
He's only like 30, isn't he?
I think so, or 31. Yeah, he's still young by fighter standards. Some of his fighters are fighting up to 40 now.
Yeah,
so he's at the midpoint, basically. I'll see what heavyweight does to him.
I don't know why you would. I don't think he's going to have anything to prove. 10 years is a long time, I guess. But
Yep. I suppose the argument is that 29 wins in the UFC or in his professional career?
Professional career.
So I suppose
I think it's only 15 odd in the UFC.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I suppose in terms of UFC ranking pound for pound, he hasn't been in the sport. Khabib hasn't been in the sport for as long as Jones has.
No.
Irrespective of title defences and everything else.
Record real quick. But, yeah. From... would I say he's the best lightweight of all time? It'd be close.
Well,
but BJ Penn,
BJ Penn, but BJ Penn lost.
Yeah, but that's the other thing. BJ Penn definitely fell off late in his career. So his first UFC fight was at 17-0.
So
12 he was 16. Yeah, 12 in the UFC. So he was 16-0 before that.
Will be missed, that's for sure. Moving on.
So to finish up on the UFC, now that Khabib has retired, they've got that McGregor versus Dustin Poirier fight. So if Khabib's retired, I'm not sure if he's actually said he's relinquishing the belt, but you'd assume so. That's the next big lightweight fight. I think McGregor's still 4 on Poirier 2, or they're in the top 5, both of them, I think, in that division. So do they then fight for the lightweight belt?
Yeah, you'd think so. I suppose the fact that Conor hasn't had a fight for how long? A year?
Did he fight Cowboy at the start of the year?
That was this year.
I think that was this year.
Yeah, it was. I think it was summer. So 8 months, I guess. Yeah, obviously Conor's Conor.
And Dustin beat Dan Hooker, who I think's like 6 ranked at the moment, a couple of months ago.
Can you get that lightweight division up there, Monks? Who's 3?
Yep. So number 3 is Ferguson.
Yeah.
who just lost to Gagey, and Gagey just lost to Khabib.
Yeah. Well, then wouldn't you think?
Yeah, and Hooker, who I just said was 5, just lost to Poirier. So you got 2 and 4.
Well, you'd think Poirier and Gagey would get to go at it first.
Maybe, but they've already done the Poirier and McGregor fight, so that fight's happening.
That's December?
Or is it early next year? I can't remember.
I'm not sure. I don't think they've nailed the details down yet.
Yeah,
I think definitely going to be very close to the end of this year.
Yeah, they're both in camp at the moment, getting ready to fight, but whether that happens or not, I think they've kind of semi-agreed. They just haven't put final word to pen to paper.
Yeah, we'll have to confirm that one.
But if you're those two, you're like, hey, well, Khabib's just retired. Let's angle for this belt. Let's put the belt on.
Yeah, you'd be licking your lips. Yeah.
How do you feel to be Gagey though? Like,
just taking the interim, but you just lost to the top guy. But
you have, but then
you're still number one though. So whoever wins out of Dustin and McGregor, you got first.
Yeah, yep.
He'd be the first one to take them on, I'd say.
Yeah, I think that's fair.
Or whether you park it and say the winner of that then fights Justin for one for the belt. But that's the next fight and coming up. Maybe
if they can get that,
it depends how long
McGregor fight done quickly. Yeah, then I reckon they could just leave it vacated until
and whoever wins that then fights Gagey for the belt. But it just depends on how keen the UFC is to then fill someone in that position.
I suppose so.
Yeah. Anyway, so my last point on fighting is the boxing news. So, I've forgotten Gallen's first name. Paul, there you go. Paul Gallen has signed on to fight Mark Hunt in a boxing match at the end of the year. So they're the co-main event. And Tszyu is fighting as the headliner, a Kiwi bloke who I don't think is a high enough ranked fighter I think they were aiming for. But still, it's still a ranked fight for Tszyu. But I want to put that aside and I want to focus on the Paul Gallen versus Mark Hunt fight.
I'm more excited about that one.
Yeah. I was like...
Mark Hunt is a huge bloke and he fights for a living.
Yeah.
I reckon Gallen's
huge experience.
Gallen's bitten off more than he can chew here. Yeah. And he's looked very impressive.
100%.
He's looked very impressive in his boxing career. Post footy or towards the end of his footy career. But Mark, oh my goodness.
Yeah. Fought Barry Hall through a draw, I think.
Yep.
But then Mark Hunt was top 10, top 5 at one point in the UFC.
Yeah. And knocked blokes out for fun.
Yeah, got a kickboxing record. Definitely has got heavy hands.
Oh, yeah.
A lot of experience. Like you wonder what Paul's getting himself into.
Yeah.
So I know Gallen's going to be in excellent shape.
Cardio-wise, I'm not worried.
Yeah.
Gallen has played over 300 odd first class.
Yeah.
First grade NRL games. Yeah, cardio's not a problem, but I'd be very scared of those big.
Yeah. Mark Hunt, though, I think is 44.
Yeah, he's old. Yep.
He's older.
And he's always been fat.
He's always, had some size, but he's definitely, I don't think he's ever really gassed in a fight in the UFC.
No.
But, maybe Gallen can weather the storm and see how he goes late. But, I think Mark Hunt should be the favourite for this.
I think he will start as favourite.
Yeah. And I'm probably backing him in to win.
Well, after hearing this news, so there's reports that Paul Gallen has torn his bicep. So he's
that's
electing
a long recovery as well.
Well, he's electing not to do surgery so they can make the fight. So,
crazy.
Hope he's getting a bit of money.
He'd want to be.
Well, I think with the headliner being Tim, that should definitely it'll draw a lot of eyes in this country now after the fight against John Horn.
Jeff Horn.
Jesus.
It's been a long podcast.
Jeff Horn. Yeah, that'll draw hopefully a lot of eyes to the fight, so they should be making really good, decent money out of it.
They set a date? December?
I think it's this year, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure it's in I think they have set a date.
8-week fight camp, probably puts it right near the end of December.
I think it's mid-December.
Just before Christmas.
Yeah. Nice time to have one. Go down, have a few beers. Nice weather.
Yeah. It is in December.
Yeah.
Can't find the date.
Maybe they might not have finalised one.
No.
We've got to sort out a venue as well.
With Corona shit.
I think they were talking about Townsville again, but
And the UFC have also banned Mark Hunt from using any UFC footage in his promotion.
that doesn't surprise me.
Yeah. So Tim Tszyu will be fighting Bowen Morgan. 21-1 record.
Oh, that's an impressive record.
Coming out of New Zealand, so
Sue obviously hasn't lost.
Yeah. So it looks like it's going to be at Sydney Bankwest Stadium on December 16.
Beautiful.
there you go. Yeah, that's good stadium. Good time of year. See how it goes. That was the last I had of news for the week. Big week, of course. Big show.
Massive
to follow
week.
it up.
Longest episode of On the Esky. If you're still with us, thank you for sticking by.
Yeah, we will follow the state of origin in the NFL going forward as the big sports that are still ongoing. And, of course, UFC and what happens in the rugby and a little bit of cars. But thank you for listening. Thank you for listening through our wrap-up of the week that was in sport. Thank you, boys. It's been a good one.
Thank you. Yeah, massive week in sport. Might even have a little look at some soccer and cricket next week.
Yeah, I didn't pick up on the EPL this week because I think they were playing Champions League games this week.
I think it was EPL. But
EPL? Okay.
We'll get to that next week. And India coming to play test matches against Australia.
The one-day series, I think, is coming up first.
Yeah, it's upcoming. Yeah. We'll have a chat about that next week. Thank you.
Thank you all.
Bye.
Bye. See you.
Bye. Bye.